Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is a new and very special guest, Emily D. Baker. How are you?
I am so good. Thank you.
Welcome to the show. You don't know this probably, but I owe you an apology.
Oh.
Right
Tell
out the
me.
gate. Look,
Tell me.
I got to lead with them. I'm so bad with names. And so I was telling people were asking me what was coming on Monday and stuff like that over the weekend. I kept calling you Kelly. And
Oh,
so
it's okay.
I am terribly sorry for not.
Did the law nerds correct you? Were the law nerds like, do you mean Emily? Is it Emily? Can we talk to Emily? We want to write it on. We want to talk to Emily.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
But it was, yeah, I felt bad when I was like, oh my God, I've been saying Kelly for like 3 days and it's Emily. Jesus. But
I'm also not great with names.
Well,
so I totally get it.
Mine is Nick or Jerk or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You are a lawyer. You have a decent amount of experience as well. So you're not like a fresh out of law school lawyer. You're like a real one who's done stuff.
I mean, 15 years is a long time. I mean, it feels like a long time.
My 6 years now feels like a long time. So yeah. I know.
Yep. It feels like a long time. So I spent over 10 years as a deputy district attorney for LA County. Today was a busy day. They had a shift in political leadership, so that's a busy day for all of my colleagues still there. So I've been on the phone quite a lot today, but yeah, over 10 years as a deputy district attorney doing all the things. And then I moved into the entrepreneurship space and I dig it. And then I've been off and on YouTube, but with my podcast, I dove more into YouTube and people are like, you've been fired. You're not a licensed attorney. You're not a practicing attorney. Why are you on YouTube? I'm like, because I like to talk about shit like all the time. And no one else wants to hear me talk about law shit. So I do it on YouTube where people want to talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah, no kidding. So wait, let's clear this up. Are you currently a practicing attorney?
Yes, I am. I don't do litigation though. I have limited my scope of practice very narrowly to do shit I like to do.
No, I have heard that only litigating attorneys are practicing attorneys.
Oh, clearly.
How dare you come and lie to the people like this?
You must litigate. It's like, no. I've spent a fair portion of my life, blood, sweat, and tears in court. It's good. It's good. It's good to not be in LA. It's good to not be in court anymore. It's a good thing.
I would not want to be. I've practice in rural areas is very, very different than practice in metro areas.
Yes.
And I've done a little bit in metro areas. I prefer to avoid it. I like being out in the sticks when I practice, but I prefer to just do this, right? Like
I do too.
It's way more fun to go online, talk and drink and make jokes than it is to like put a suit on.
Judges have an appalling sense of humor when they're on the bench. Some of them are much better when they're not on the bench, but I got to a very, very burnt out space in my life, and it was time to make a change. I'm also a mom of 2. My husband was also running his own practice, his dental practice. And so we were running a dental practice, a litigation, practice essentially with the district attorney's office. And I got very, very burned out. And then helpfully I herniated some discs in my back and needed a bunch of surgery. And I was like, we need to do something different. And then being able to get up and just talk over Zoom with clients and help people form businesses and see their dreams. Like entrepreneurs are so happy when you're like, no, you're not going to go to jail. It's cool. Like here's a bookkeeper and this is how your corporation's set up. And here's a client agreement and you're off. They're like, oh my God, I love you. You saved my life. Versus going into court and having somebody be like, fuck you, bitch. I don't want to be here. Don't arrest me and drag me to court. I'm a victim. I'm like, I know, but you were subpoenaed and you didn't come. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. When the police showed up, they first asked you to come along and then you didn't.
Yes.
So that's the handcuffs came in. No,
Mhm.
it is great. I'm glad that that things are working out that way for you,
Me
because
too.
I can't. When you said the dental practice, I was like, oh my god, that's
Oh,
that's a
it was a
busy.
lot. It was a lot running our own, and we had 15 employees. So running our own family business and then also being in trial constantly with two small kids was quite a lot, because there were actually days on the phone where my husband's like, I am in the middle of this procedure and I cannot leave. And I'm like, that's adorable. Daycare closes and I have to get these jury instructions done before I leave, because I can't actually do this from my house. I have to be like plugged into the court internet.
Yeah,
So you need to leave. He's like, I cannot leave. And I'm like, well, neither can I. That started happening too frequently and I didn't love it.
yeah, that's tough with kids. I
Mhm.
have 5 little ones, and but
Yeah.
and my wife is a stay-at-home mom, but we homeschool as well. And so for me, it got to the point where I was barely going to my office. I
Yeah.
was, our kids hit that age, especially once the 5th one was coming,
Yeah.
when I closed down my office and just moved home to focus on YouTube. The 5th one was, when was that? Yeah, I guess she was just about to be born. And I was like, I need to not be
Mm.
paying for this stupid office that I'm never at.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I moved home, converted to YouTube pretty much full time, and said, I'm going to make a go of this. And I could not be happier with that decision.
I love that.
No amount of,
Still a real attorney, as it
yeah,
turns out.
yeah, yeah. Shockingly, that hasn't, although not for lack of trying. Put them on the table. How many ethics complaints have you gotten?
Truthfully,
Yeah.
0.
Whoa. Okay. Now you're not a real internet attorney yet.
I'm not a real internet attorney. I've only been doing the internet stuff for a few years. I was a district attorney for so long that the internet stuff, I know it's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Oh,
I've
it's
brought it
coming.
upon myself. I stuck to talking about things that were criminally related in the podcast. I've talked about the Breonna Taylor case. I've talked about Kenosha. I've talked about every hot button topic. But the second I stepped onto beauty drama, it's like the world fucking exploded. And I was like, holy shit, there's people mad at me on Twitter. Like I've talked about controversial things that have very large ramifications, but holy shit, you talk about YouTube drama and man,
Oh,
it's on. It's
oh
on.
man. I can't wait for you to get them.
I'm sure it'll happen.
I think I'm at 11. None of them resulting from practice.
All of them resulting from stuff people don't like that you said.
All
Fantastic.
YouTube. All
Fantastic.
YouTube.
Fantastic. Oh, fantastic. I'm sure that will come. But
Uh,
it would be so silly. It's like the bar is for like when clients are harmed or when the court is cranky. I mean, I've had judges threaten to sanction me for like making faces. And I'm like, that's just my face, Your Honor. And it's like, no, Baker, you keep making these faces. And I'm like, that's my face. Like my face sometimes does things in court. I try to not make faces, but then you say stupid shit, which
Yeah.
you can't ever say to a judge. You just
No.
think it. But then when you think it, your face shows it.
Yeah.
I made a jury laugh. I got threatened to be sanctioned. Miss
Oh.
Baker, I am the only one who will be funny in this courtroom, is exactly what I was told. If you make this jury laugh one more time, you will
Yeah.
bring your checkbook to court. I don't know if they still threaten that. Like, who carries around a checkbook? But you will bring your checkbook to
Judges.
court and you will pay the state bar. I will fine you. I'm like, you're going to fine me a reportable amount for making a jury laugh? We're here for 3 weeks together, Your Honor. Fuck, it's going to be long. I'll try to be less funny.
Number one sign you're behind a judge at a grocery store is it's taking 10 minutes as he's writing out the check.
It's a very, very real thing.
No, there. Okay, so this is off topic, which this will
okay.
be that's a common theme here.
Yes. I love off topic.
Did you follow the Chris Hook stuff that happened? Okay, so
Mm-mm.
Chris Hook is
No
an
idea.
he's a California attorney, and he's a plaintiff's attorney on insurance matters against Allstate.
Okay.
And he's doing depositions, and in the deposition, the adjuster or the adjuster's manager, I can't remember which, makes some announcement or pronouncement that he can't, he like couldn't determine what a lie was. He couldn't define what a lie was. And it became very clear that Allstate was just not paying out even though they should. So he goes, okay, this has just changed from like a couple $100,000 claim into a punitive damage claim against Allstate, worth millions. So he, and also right after that, the other attorney says, can we have a bathroom break? And then after the bathroom break, they said, we need to go ahead and end this thing. Our client is tired. And the tired client had previously said, they were slated for like 8 hours of deposition. This was at 3 hours. And so he knew. He's like, okay, I've got him. Dead to rights. So he starts making demands by email for like $100 million to settle this thing. And then they didn't respond. So his demands escalated in tone, we'll say, to where he's calling them gay boys and stuff like that.
Oh,
it was so funny. But so they moved and they actually got him sanctioned for his emails back and forth. But the thing that drove me crazy was we listened to the hearing, and you could tell that the judge was just mad, not that he said the stuff, but that he put it down in writing and that other people heard about it. And
he was mad at him for being an idiot.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not mad at you for being horrible. I'm mad at you for being an idiot. And now I have to deal with it.
Judge is like, look, I was in the military. I've said way worse. I still do, but you should never write it down. And it's like, no, you shouldn't write it down. But at the same time, don't punish this guy. Like, he was just, Allstate was being dicks. And they did end up settling that case for some undisclosed amount after he was switched out as counsel. But he's actually a really interesting attorney, and he was going through, he's, as always, he's going through some bad stuff, because all attorneys are always going through bad stuff. You're an attorney. And then he also saw victory, and he saw a company being absolute scumbags. So he nailed them, and his emails are stuff of legend. But
it's the emails, man. We didn't email a ton as DAs because we always saw the defense attorneys in court all the time. Yeah. But one of my colleagues who was a giant dude, he had to be like 6'6", but not just a tall dude, but like a really big dude, was back in the hallway during the middle of a criminal trial. And the defense attorney is like, whatever, somebody's about to get punched. And the DA is like looking down at this defense attorney going, who's about to get punched? And he's like, you big fucking bastard, you. I want to fucking punch you. And I'm like,
yeah, get him.
Welcome to criminal law. There are definitely, like, criminal lawyers tend to be like, I'll just throw down and fight you in the parking lot, where civil lawyers are just like, no, I'm going to write you a really mean email. And then I'm going to tell you, as you've seen in my previous email, you're an idiot and things like that.
For the reasons previously stated, you are still stupid.
As I said in my previous email, you're an idiot.
I do. I love kind of the back and forth that lawyers get into, because at the end of the day, we're all pencil pushers and no one's throwing any punches anyway. But it's just,
the criminal lawyers criminal lawyers want to throw punches. They all box in their off time. They're like YouTubers. They all box in their off time. Some do Krav Maga. Like, we were a very feisty bunch. Everybody likes to go shooting. I do archery. Like, it's a feisty bunch of people. Criminal lawyers might throw down with one another. I think they might. They just, they're civil. They can't do that. Yeah. That would be uncivil. No, they send really nasty emails instead.
Well, I love it. I like the bluster back and forth, but at the same time, I got tired of collecting money from people. That was the thing that I hated. I was never on the government side of it. And in private practice in a small town, it was just like, man, I can't. You're already being busted for meth. I know you spent all your money on meth. I don't want to take anything from you.
Right. There's nothing left.
But yeah, so I'm happy to be done with that stuff. But okay, so you're in private practice as well, though, right?
I do mostly consulting. I have some clients, but yes, I also hate billables and collecting money.
Right. It's much easier to do the transactional stuff with
Yes.
business organizations, because like,
Yes.
okay, well, here's what it's going to take for us to set up
Mhm.
your nonprofit. Here's what it's
Yep.
going to cost for me to do the 501c3 and all that, and then you just lay it out there, and then hire an accountant, because I don't want to do the tax stuff.
Absolutely. Oh, always hire an accountant. Hire a bookkeeper and hire an accountant. So we absolutely do that. And the transactional stuff is it's easier than doing billables, and it's enjoyable. People that I work mostly with the online business space, mostly with female business owners, and it's a lot of fun. But I also love doing comment. I love talking about the law, breaking down the law as it applies to things so people understand what the law is instead of what they want it to be. And sometimes that's YouTube drama, sometimes that's stuff in the real world, sometimes that's Real Housewives drama, sometimes that's people selling kid pics on OnlyFans. Like that was last week. I was
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
yikes, Gabby DiMartino. So we've
Was that
talked about
who is the person who sold their own kid pics?
yes, Gabby DiMartino.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yes, ill-advised, but possibly not illegal. So it was a very interesting and long conversation.
Right, yeah, possibly not illegal, but still, get out.
But still ill-advised, like ill-advised,
Yeah.
ill-advised. So it's fascinating. Like legal commentary is really, really a lot of fun. And
It
it's
is.
kind of it's like when you play a sport and you're done playing, but you still love to watch it. That's kind of how I feel about legal commentary. It's like I love to watch it go on. I don't want to do it.
Okay, I'm gonna early ask the big risk question.
Uh-oh.
Who's your favorite legal commentator?
Oh, who's my favorite legal commentator?
And you can't use you as an answer.
I can't lose me as an answer. Why can't I just use me?
Because that's the easy way.
That's the easy way. I like watching a lot of different attorneys because I don't agree. No, you put a room together of attorneys and everybody's not going to agree. So
You know oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. You
no,
know
go ahead.
the only place attorneys do seem to agree en masse is on Twitter. Have you seen that?
I have seen that.
Law Twitter is a place where all attorneys magically have always come to the same conclusions. That cracks me up. But anywhere else, I agree with you.
I mean, you generally get, and the interesting conversations aren't all like, well, yep, that's what it is. It's like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this other aspect of it? So I enjoy watching a lot of different commentaries. I found Wine and Chill during the Kanye West breakdowns of the contracts, and I really enjoy her channel. So
I've never heard of Wine and Chill,
yep,
but
she's a smaller channel. She's a female attorney. She had worked in the music industry a legal bit, and I found her during the Kanye West breakdown, not breakdown, but the contract breakdowns of him putting up all of the like, these are all my things. So I
yeah.
really enjoyed her grabbing a glass of wine, going, "Hey,
Here's
this
all
is what
my
it was like working in the music industry."
here's all my contracts that I agreed not to disclose under these
Mhm.
contracts.
Mhm. Which none of them said, and I pulled all of them. There were no NDA provisions. It might have been in the base
Really?
contract, but there were no NDA provisions in the 100 and whatever pages I read through. And I was like, wow, none of these. And then
Whoa.
they never came down off of Twitter because I told everybody, I'm like, y'all better screenshot this shit quick because the second Universal lawyers get a hold of it, it's going to come down. And it didn't. None of it ever came down.
That's baffling.
It was baffling.
It didn't even enter my mind that there wasn't an NDA. I didn't
None of
actually
the
read them.
None of the ancillary contracts had any non-disclosure provisions in them. None of them. It was shocking. I was fascinated. I was like, "Bitch, look at these." But we don't have the base contract.
True. Yeah. So
Was
yeah,
fascinating.
maybe there's one in there, but
Not
yeah.
on the ancillary stuff. It was
And
fascinating.
on the
So that's I
ancillary
found her
stuff,
channel.
maybe did they have like a four corners provision in them that these are complete contracts, and so there's
Some of them did.
yeah, so those it wouldn't matter if there
Sometimes it
was
wasn't.
non-disclosure.
Not all of them had four corner provisions though.
Okay.
It was very interesting. It was like reading footnotes. It was like they weren't all some of them were complete, but not all of them were complete. So it was really hard to give any full idea of what was going on because you're like, well, this is what these say, but these aren't complete. There's a base contract. But it was very interesting to see how they were trying to weave in some additional provisions, how they changed things, how stuff got modified, because we had all the modifications, but never had the base agreement.
So,
Sure.
and no, I'm not drinking box wine, chat. It's kombucha with vodka. But I'm not opposed to box wine. Like, don't hate.
Look, box wine will get the job done. That's for sure.
Not my favorite.
I am drinking Angel's Envy finished rye,
Ooh,
which
that looks delicious.
it's pretty good. It's finished in rum casks, Caribbean rum casks. I don't know. It gives it a nice flavor. I'm going to do a review on it later this month if I have some left. But it's great. It's great.
That's fantastic.
Okay, so as you are, I'm sure aware, part of the live show is super chats, and I try and take ones that are $20 or more as they come in. So we do have a couple of those, and then I want to start kind of waddling our way into this drama
Fantastic.
and lawsuit, which is Toddy Westbrook versus Without a Crystal Ball, to put it
Watch out.
lightly.
Once you wade into the beauty drama, it's gonna bring the haters. It's gonna bring the haters.
Oh, good. I
had no idea.
I need a new roster, frankly, because my old roster of haters is very tiring right now. So we'll get the new ones in here, and it'll be great.
The beauty drama is a whole different, like, YouTube has all these little spaces, right? And the beauty drama space of YouTube is a whole new ball of wax. But I had watched beauty YouTube before I left the DA's office. So I had been watching kind of the beauty community and the beauty drama community as the same way I watched The Real Housewives, really, because I like terrible television. And then Dramageddon 1 went down, and I'm like, wait, are people being canceled because they're like mean friends and kind of shady? Like, I didn't understand Dramageddon 1, and then Dramageddon 2 happened, and I'm like, holy shit, what in the world is popping off? And then I didn't love the Bye Sister video with Tati. I've been very open and honest about that, though apparently I'm still on payroll, but I need to clearly raise my rates on that payroll because there's no payroll there. But I was like, what? I don't understand. James Charles is losing all these subscribers. I've never seen anything like it. And then Carmageddon happened. I was like, what in the fuck is all this? And then these lawsuits came down.
Yes.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, and that's the best part. The best part of legal commentary in the YouTube sphere specifically is that what you said rings so true. Watching YouTube, us included. I'm not above this. We are trash TV distilled into like one person, and
Absolutely.
it's great, and that's why people like it and watch it so much. And then, so then it's like, okay, now it's these mini trash TV empires suing each other, which no one on earth, in like the grand scheme of things, I can't imagine anybody being anything of less import than someone saying something bad about someone who makes and sells makeup. Like, of all the world's problems, that is the least one that I'm concerned about. But at the same time, the people involved are so enigmatic in their own way, because you don't amass millions of subscribers like Toddy without being enigmatic, right? Like, there's something about a person who can do that. And so the lawsuits are always these weird little narcissistic flexes. And I love that about them. That's what's so great.
That's the best way to describe it. That's the best way to describe it. And they are, in all of the coverage I've done of it, I've said, look, these lawsuits are really important to the two people that are involved. The rest of us are going to sit back and watch, because at the end of the day, for the rest of us, it doesn't matter what happens in these lawsuits. The election lawsuits are really stressful to watch play out, and they're massive, and there's tons of them, and they're overwhelming. This is like, wait, PewDiePie was brought up in a response? Wait, somebody's deleting tweets? Wait, there's a motion to preserve evidence in a civil suit before there's even been a court hearing? Wait, one of the parties is kind of adding one of the lawyers on the case on Twitter? Like, I've never seen shit pop off like this case. And at the end of the day, it's consequential to the two parties involved and their attorneys and no one else, which is why it's fun to watch. Tati Westbrook had 9 million subscribers that had not heard from her in months. And then her business partner sues her and starts the lawsuit out with, "This is a lawsuit brought about by the defendant's greed. And you're like, oh, I'm in.
Yep. I'm hooked. That opening line. Okay, you worked as an ADA. I heard you say in one of your videos that you also were you a clerk as well for a while?
I was a
Okay,
clerk.
so you because clerks are the front line. They're the what should we call it? The screening editors
They are.
for the judge. How important is that first paragraph of your intro?
See, if I'm a law clerk, part of me is like, oh, this is shady as fuck. And then part of me is like, oh, but I kind of want to know. So at least my job would be entertaining. Like if it's a well-written lawsuit, I'm like, at least my job's entertaining. If I have to parse through a shit show of stuff to try to figure out what the rule is as a law clerk, I'm going to the judge going, I feel like this is over the page limit. Do I really have to read it? Because I really don't want to. Can we just yell at them? Can we yell at them and tell them to do better? Because this is awful.
My one of my senior projects in law school was it was an independent study, and I was assisting a law professor who wanted to bring she's writing a proposal basically to add an official storytelling course to law school as an elective. Because like lawyers don't know how to tell stories. I mean, some do, but it's not a skill that they teach and foster and hone in law school. And if you're going to be a litigator, and if you're going to get down and be writing these documents, one, you better be able to write a good story. And two, when you get in front of a jury, especially, you better be singing. And you have to get them interested in what's going on for them to make a decision that will matter about what's going on.
Yeah, they have to give a shit. Because when you stand in front of a jury saying, yes, I know, but this bartender sold a beer to this underage, undercover cop that was working with the police that you all kind of don't like anyway, but no, really, it's really bad to sell a beer to a police sting agent who's under 21. I swear, it's bad. It's very, very bad.
Trust
I know
me.
you've all been here for 5 days, but trust me. Look, doesn't he look like he's 12? He looks like he's wearing underoos. See, he's so young. It's very bad. You have to make them
know
care.
that your house got broken into while you were sequestered in the jury room. But trust me, this is the pressing issue.
Very bad. I mean, it's with the more serious crimes, it becomes a little easier to get people involved. But with technical crimes, and I did everything from blood and guts and murders and pimps and hoes and gangbangers, all the way to fraud and like computer intrusions. And the more technical it gets, the harder it is to get a jury interested. It's like, no, but on this 17th line in this bank statement, see that bank number? It matches this other bank number. And they're like, what the fuck? So
stop being excited.
Getting them involved is very, very important.
Very important. I want to make one announcement to the chat. There may be some new viewers in the chat, and this is very simple. It's the rule of the chat, because I don't ban people, and my mods don't ban people from the chat. We have one rule. Please don't spam. That's it. Other than that, you are free to make your opinions known to the world, and you're free to do it as virulently as possible. It's actually encouraged. Just don't spam it out. And everything will be fine. I saw someone worried that someone was going to get banned in the chat. Don't worry about that. We don't do that here typically. I mean, I guess it's theoretically possible, but just don't spam. Look, they're mods at the end of the day. That's not me doing it. So I guess it's possible. But I do unban people who get banned after a while. So, okay. So let's do a couple of these chats, and then let's talk. I know I said we were going to do that 10 minutes ago. The Dragon's...
That's fine. I talk.
The Dragon's Treasure. By the way, the Dragon's Treasure, he makes tea. He does hand-cut tea. Do you watch anime?
Some.
Okay.
Because my kid likes anime. It's not... Is it my favorite? I mean, I like Doctor Who. So anime is not my number one nerd out, but...
Do you like tea? Like brewed tea?
I do like tea. I love tea.
So dragonstreasure.com makes anime-themed tea.
That's fantastic.
Hand-cut tea. So he says, to give everyone an update with language cleaned up for our lovely guest. On the Drexel Dragon Toy Challenge, We were a measly $55 short of our $2,000 goal. As such, we've decided to give it one more try. If Dragon's Treasure can make 2,000 by Tuesday, which December 15th at 12 a.m. Central Time, someone will indeed buy Mr. Drexel his Bad Dragon toy. Are you familiar with Bad Dragons?
No.
Oh, thank God. Let's keep it that way. I also demand everybody who's tried my tea to give Nick super chats saying just how good my tea is. If you don't, Drex will think you're a simp. Okay. So there.
I appreciate the use of simp in a super chat, though. I've got to say.
Yes. Mithrin Ever says, I just recently found Emily's channel and delighted to see her here. Emily, I love the way you break down and explain cases. I also like that you don't shy away from the cursey words. Nick, blessings to you and yours. Hey, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Biden
Definitely don't shy away from the cursey words.
Viden the cold one, and I'm going to apologize in advance for this theme, which may pop up later as well. Says, hello, Emily. Welcome to the show where Nick's nose is as long as he is late. I have to do Kermit impressions from time to time.
I appreciate it. Emily's a late runner too, so I totally get it. I don't know if it's a lawyer thing or if it's an ADHD of Emily thing, but running late is kind of the thing.
And
Yeah.
Robert Levito says, can't imagine a respectable lawyer drinking boxed wine. Being a basic white chick is Nick's job.
I mean, Nick's in good company. I'm pretty basic. I don't hide from my basic. I share my love for pumpkin and Ugg boots, and we're basic, but we know some shit. It's fine.
Okay, let's start talking about these people, because I will confess, I do not know who Toddy Westbrook is outside
Fair.
of this lawsuit. I have never watched BeautyTube. I know who sort of James Charles is, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you who James Charles was by name, only because I've seen the videos of like, this boy is amazing at makeup or whatever. That hit a couple, like a year, 2 years ago. They're really like popping around Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I've seen those things floating around, but I'm not familiar outside of that, and I have no idea of Without a Crystal Ball who they are, although they're apparently close by to me because they're in Minnesota.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I don't know anybody in this case. What I do know is I read the complaint. I started skimming when they started doing long lists of things that looked like it was their
the videos.
Yeah, there to
Yeah.
puff out page count. And I was like, okay, I get the repetition thing it's a good mnemonic or whatever it is, but I don't want to see it more than a little bit. So I started skimming those, but I read the bulk of the complaint. I read the causes of action, and I had started reading the response, which is really a strange response.
Agreed.
Because it doesn't just
It
it's
doesn't
not
just respond.
it's not just a 12B6, and it's not
a 12B salad.
Yeah, and it's not quite
All
an
of the
answer.
12Bs.
It's,
Correct.
yeah,
It's not an answer.
It's 12B misc.
Yes, it is. I likened it to a fruit salad mixed with a blender, and when you try to pick out which rule applies, you just can't, because it's all they didn't state the rule for any of the sections, and I found it so frustrating. I'm like, okay, well, you want to argue jurisdiction under what? Am I supposed to assume it's a 12B2 or 12B4 or 12B3? Like, can we just
Yeah.
tell me? But in the background of all of that was the BeautyTube drama. It's not super relevant to this case. Everybody keeps trying to make it like the external stuff's not really relevant to the defamation, because defamation is just like, was this shit said? Is that shit defamatory? Can you prove damages? And then you go from there. But because there was so much interest, is the only really, I guess, is the reason that the background becomes relevant, because there was so much interest in Tati Westbrook, and she had been off the internet, and then she was back, and then she was off, and then she was back. That's why this lawsuit, when it came out with the business partner, blew up, because people hadn't heard from her, hadn't seen her. She'd been gone after Dramageddon, Carmageddon, and had just been kind of laying low, because she released that Bye Sister video, and it comes up in the motion to dismiss. I bring it up in my videos because Bye Sister is an interesting quirk to all of this, but it's going to come up to damages way down the road. Bye Sister was really her video against James Charles. It didn't sit well with a lot of people, but James Charles still lost a lot of subscribers over it and then bounced back. At the end of the day, she trashed James Charles, in my opinion, and kind of dragged him through the mud. And he lost like 3 million subscribers in like 24 hours or something. It was insane, but bounced back, is doing well. His career survived, but he was 19. She was in her 30s. It was icky for everybody. Everybody's like, what is happening? And then Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson co-signed what she said in Bye Sister, which made it all crazy. And then Carmageddon came out and she's like, they made me do it. And people are like, we don't even want to hear about it anymore. And then this lawsuit came down for statements made partly after that, but statements also made after the business partner suit came out. So I was unaware of Without a Crystal Ball's channel until when? Until I think the defamation suit came down, because I hadn't seen a ton of reporting over the Toddy Westbrook business partner suit. I had seen some drama, like commentary community fluff ups over it. And from what it seems is that Without a Crystal Ball had the news of the lawsuit with the business partner first. They say it in the response like 7 times. She broke the story. The working theory on our channel, because a lot of what she said in her videos and a lot of what was said in the business partner lawsuit and a lot of the alleged defamatory statements from an article she wrote line up. So there are sections of the business partner lawsuit that read like an article she wrote, and the business partner lawsuit alludes to internet sources. And then there's videos where she alludes to that being her. So there is this underlying working theory that she and the business partner were connected. And she said that she had a source that was part of the business partner suit. And then she said she had the suit. She was tipped off that morning, but the suit wasn't filed till 1:30 in California. So she didn't have it in the morning. She said somebody at the courthouse called her, but the courthouses are closed because of COVID and it was e-filed. So it looked to me and others that she might have been tipped off to the lawsuit, which I still don't have a problem with that at all.
There's a misconception that I've seen. I mean, not here anymore because we've dispelled it pretty regularly. Especially when I had a direct source to lots of stuff, including some recorded depositions that were not publicly available. And people are like, oh, you got it from the lawyer. And it's like, well, yeah. There's actually nothing wrong with that unless it's under seal. All of these are technically public documents and public things. And outside of a court order, especially with a deposition, that's a work for hire. You hire a videographer to produce it and then you own the rights to it. So she could, whoever, the internet's weird about court documents. There's like a superstition around them, but they're not special.
No, and I've said time and time again, there's no problem with her even having early access to it and saying this has been filed and breaking that story. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing untoward with that. It was the conflicting statements around it that I always took issue with, of just say that you got it. Don't say that you had somebody in the courthouse when it can be demonstrably proven that you didn't. But then she broke down the lawsuit, but made extrapolations from the lawsuit and alleged them as fact. So a lot of the defamatory statements come from her saying, this means that they were this and they were that and they were this. And see, this proves that they were this and they were that and they were this. And that's not what the lawsuit says. And that's when you get the defamation suit filed 10 days later. After that happened, I went back and realized that she had been served 4 cease and desists on prior statements from Toddy Westbrook's camp over 18 months. And then sometime in between the business partner suit getting filed and her getting sued, she did a video where she's like, they're not going to sue me. They don't want to sue me. They've sent me cease and desist for 18 months. And then it was a day or two later that they sued her. So that all added, I think, more intrigue than there normally would have been, because there were some inconsistencies, because there were statements, very bold statements of they're never going to sue me, let them go ahead. I can't wait to get into discovery with them. So there was a lot of poking the bear that happened. And then we now have a business partner lawsuit that's gonna be litigated and has basically been forgotten in the YouTube sphere because so much has happened with this defamation suit.
Right.
And it was filed, and then very quickly a motion, we call it on my channel a motion to not delete your shit, but the motion to preserve was filed.
Yep.
And I can't remember the last time I saw one needing to be filed because it's kind of standard practice that you just don't delete shit
Yeah,
when you're in a
it,
civil litigation.
and it's even, I think the rule is even when you're in anticipation of civil
Yes,
litigation.
she had noticed because the emails are attached that she was noticed.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's very, very weird to have that, especially in federal court. I guess I could see if there was a state that didn't have a rule about it, maybe you would want to file a motion. But yeah, that should just be there. Although, there's other problems that, and I don't know how much you've discussed this, but Minnesota does have a pretty active journalistic shield law. And so as a news commentary sort of channel, doing research of this for no purpose I can figure out of my own, but the journalism definition in Minnesota is extremely broad. It's literally whoever talks about something in a public manner. It can be one viral Facebook video can be covered by journalistic shield law.
Right.
So actually going after that evidence may prove really, if Without a Crystal Ball wanted to make it so, they could make it really costly and annoying. But my understanding is that there's probably a large resources gap between the Westbrooks and Without a Crystal Ball.
I would imagine so, just based on the size of channels, but I mean, one can only assume. I would imagine so, but this could be very, very costly litigation. And as I said from the beginning, with the defamation, there's some statements that I think could be defamatory per se, but most of those go to Toddy Westbrook's husband and to the business and not to Toddy Westbrook herself. So then we get into this, is the husband a public figure for defamation? With the defamation per se in Washington, you don't have to prove damages. So there's some of these statements that I think are fairly strong and some of the statements that are not as strong. And it's going to be very interesting. The ongoing action is going to piss off the judge and extend litigation as well, because now you've got the shit that's deleted. Now you've got the response that has a 12b6 plus a jurisdiction plus all this other stuff, plus it's over the page limit, plus it's not in format for that court and some other things that are just going to be annoying to the judge. So now you've potentially got an annoyed judge, but it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with the jurisdiction.
I think they should have just immediately filed their jurisdictional response.
Yep.
So okay, let's talk about that.
I
very
agree. I don't know
briefly.
why they didn't just file a motion to quash and just go after jurisdiction and leave it alone.
Right. So okay, so guys, the parties are the Westbrooks, who are in Washington.
Yes.
Washington State. And
Yes.
then you've got Without a Crystal Ball and its owner, whatever her name is.
Without a Crystal Ball, the company, and then KJ, the owner.
They are located in Minnesota. The
Yes.
company is domiciled in Minnesota and has its chief operating office in Minnesota. So their residency for both parties is in Minnesota. So
Yep.
we, in
And then
theory, have diversity.
Halo Beauty.
Right.
Halo Beauty is domiciled in Nevada.
Okay, so it's in Nevada, but with its primary office in Washington.
No.
Oh, in Nevada
Yes.
as well? Okay.
Yes. So you've got three diverse, but the owner operators are Toddy and her husband. So they are in Washington.
So we presumably have what's called diversity jurisdiction, where the plaintiffs are diverse in jurisdiction from all of the defendants, sort of. There is an actual argument that they may not be, and I think hidden in that argument is maybe a tacit admission to what you're suspecting, that her source is the business partner, who I assume is also in Washington. But maybe that's a bet. Oh, where's the business partner domiciled?
Based on the business partner's lawsuit, I believe he's domiciled in Nevada, based on his statements in Nevada. But then he wouldn't be diverse to the business.
Right.
That's in
So
Nevada.
So to have diversity jurisdiction for federal court, you have to have complete diversity between the plaintiffs and the defendants. They named 100 John Does, basically,
A lot of does.
saying that there's a bunch of other people. It's a grand conspiracy to ruin the Westbrooks, and in naming those Does and alleging that there's an inside source on this other lawsuit, they may be pointing to the business partner who sued them. And if they are, and he's not diverse to Nevada, then they can't bring suit in federal court. It will just be thrown out. So that's a problem that they have to overcome. The other problem is they brought this suit in the state of Washington, but they have to prove that Washington has personal jurisdiction over the Minnesota company and the Minnesota person, and each of them individually. And so to do that, there's your first couple weeks of civil procedure will be focused on learning.
It's like the beginning of Legally Blonde. Did diversity jurisdiction exist in this case?
Right.
Did personal jurisdiction exist in this case?
Did they
For everyone
mention,
who hasn't been to law school?
Did they mention International Shoe and Legally Blonde? Because they should have.
I don't think they address it by name. They say no, diversity jurisdiction did not exist in this. I've watched Legally Blonde too much, but not enough recently. I don't think they actually named any of the cases by name, which is disappointing because every lawsuit everywhere would have, or every law student everywhere would have been like, yes, I feel so seen.
Right. And your professor would not have been happy for you to not cite International Shoe for your specific acts directed into a jurisdiction, or your direct contacts, I should say. So they have to prove that these defendants have acted either they already belong generally in the Washington jurisdiction because they have business dealings there or something like that, or that they specifically directed acts into the jurisdiction, not directed acts at people in the jurisdiction. That's a different thing, but directed acts intended to cause damage in the jurisdiction.
Right.
Very different.
It is. I think the argument on that's going to be they were the conspiracy to ruin Toddy's reputation. She lives there, and that's where she operates her business out of. I think that's the argument. We'll see, but yes,
and the counter argument I would see coming would be that Toddy Westbrook's reputation is not rooted in there. It is rooted on the internet, and the internet doesn't have a state jurisdiction other than arguably California. Through you, if it's YouTube stuff,
exactly.
And so no, Washington wouldn't have jurisdiction over it. So it'll be a back and forth. And we actually saw something similar to this on this channel with a comic book lawsuit between an independent comic creator and Mark Waid. Mark Waid is a Marvel comic book writer, and he said some things about the other person. And the Fifth Circuit found that his internet comments, that they did not have jurisdiction over those. Mark Waid's in California, this guy's in Texas, and they said in the Fifth Circuit would not take jurisdiction over the California comments. However, he had also traveled to Houston for a convention and made comments at that convention, and they said they would take jurisdiction over comments made within the Texas forum. So
interesting.
There's
the internet has changed up the way that all of this sits.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the courts are way behind it. They're
way behind.
They're decades behind everything.
Absolutely.
So that'll be the thing. But yeah, for me, I would have immediately challenged jurisdiction and reserved every other aspect of the case until jurisdiction was resolved. And that would add like 6 months to a year to the case, especially during COVID. I mean, you're gonna add just this massive amount of time. And that's what I would have done. I don't know, because I'm a jerk like that.
I think I would have done a motion to quash too if they really don't want jurisdiction. If they're looking at the laws saying, Washington's the least beneficial form for us, so we would prefer either, I don't know, California arguing that perhaps because YouTube's in California has substantial contacts. But it's interesting because in the motion to dismiss, they argue there are other parties that have to be in California, that during part of the time Tati and her husband lived in California because there was a move during it. So they argue California pretty heavily. So they could say, okay, well, do we want this in California, or do we want this in, her home jurisdiction? And if that's the case, then the motion to quash seems to get you there without having to kind of tip your hand on the other stuff. because
Right.
it seems that the hand has been tipped and that the argument is either Toddy's kind of undefamable because she wrecked herself, or that there's these other parties and they're more responsible, which is an argument I don't love in a defamation case, that like, yeah, but these other people defamed her too. I'm like, oh, that's for damages. Like, that's for
Right.
damages.
Yeah, you can my theory so there's the idea of someone who is beyond the scope of defamation. It is a legal theory. I can't think of what it's called right now, but the long and short is that's usually reserved for really bad people.
Yes.
Like serial murderers.
Serial killers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad.
It's tough to show.
They alleged a murderous conspiracy, and we've been trying to figure out why. Maybe this is it. Maybe we're now onto something. This is why the murderous conspiracy was brought up, because now we can say libel proof.
Yeah. Sorry.
Now we can say you've wrecked yourself. See, this is what happens when I speak too colloquially too often. I'm like, wait, it's not a motion to not delete your shit. There's legal terms. I know them. It's also late.
It all depends on what my brain is doing at the time.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't like the libel-proof defense either. I think just generally speaking, it's hard to find someone who you can't harm a little bit more. Right. And the argument that so and so is libel-proof, if you say, I mean, if part of your shtick is that you're exposing them, then they're not libel-proof. Like, you don't think they're libel-proof if you can expose them, in my opinion.
Right. And I think that's the reason I bring it up, is because it felt like that's the direction that the motion to dismiss was going in. Like, the direction it was going in, with all of the background of like, PewDiePie says she sucks, and, you know, Trisha Paytas says that she sucks, and she said that she sucks. Like, with all of that, I was like, is that the direction this is going? And then it went jurisdiction. I was like, wait, what? We turned left. I didn't know we were turning. We went all down all of the stuff. And I was like, okay, so are we arguing about the defamation? And they never argued the defamation. I was so confused.
That was the weirdest part of that. Of that response. Okay, so guys, in the response,
not a response. In the motion to dismiss, that's also a motion to quash.
Now, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if the judge pulled the ultimate troll move? I'm getting ahead of us here, but if the judge said, "Okay, I'm going to grant, we're going to accept jurisdiction. I'm going to grant all of your motions to dismiss, but you didn't raise defamation or false light or business libel, so we're not going to dismiss those, and those will go to trial." Because you didn't ask me to. That would be the troll move du jour from the judge, and maybe he should do that.
I thought the first troll move would have been, this is over my page limit and it violates my standing order, so I'll throw it out. But then the judge filed two, and I think they were strategic, filed 2 minute orders last week on Friday. And both of them said, per the standing order, at least 4 times in each one. But the first one was like, per the standing order, per the standing order. And I think the reason 2 were filed, because if I was the clerk, if I was the law clerk, I would have wanted to do this, was to let them think for like half a day that the judge might just grant or deny their motion based on the fact, might just throw it out and say, no, we're not doing this motion. You have to just bring jurisdiction again. You can't bring the rest of this. It was very interesting. So we'll see. And then the judge granted an extension because there was a deadline for the motion, a response to the motion not to delete your shit that had come on, and the judge granted an extension for that. So when you get over the page limit and 45 lines instead of 26 and a missed deadline, you get a cranky federal judge.
Yeah, you never want to, like, you never want to
rile.
You don't. You want to be neutral with the judge at worst. And it's weird what makes them annoyed, because they're human, and so they recognize, as long as, my experience with judges is, as long as you ask, you know, they're pretty flexible. Like, hey, judge, something came up. My client needs an extension. You do that 1 or 2 times. That's fine. Yep. You get to the point where, hey, judge, I violated your order that exists. And you may get a pass on it once. And then you shouldn't get any more.
Yeah.
Especially, I could really see it if you're like an out of forum attorney or something like that, and they're like, you know, you don't practice here, so maybe you don't know about this order or you're not familiar, but you need to do this. But from what I've been seeing, and I never did federal practice, so I don't have any particular experience with this, but just through the internet and reading, I've noticed that lots of federal judges do have their own sort of house rules.
Yes.
And so if you're practicing in a federal jurisdiction, you should be researching those post haste.
It's very standard that especially federal judges are like, I'm the king of my own domain. This was really common in criminal practice, kind of courthouse by courthouse. There were, the kind of courthouse standards for how things were done, but criminal had it's a very strict timeline. So there was only so much you could do, but in federal, they're very much like, generally, if you say, I need a few extra pages, you have to send, written notice to the clerk sends it to the judge says yes or no, and that's kind of the way things are done. So it was very interesting to me to see some of those things as I was also looking at footnotes citing to PewDiePie's YouTube videos. I was just like, I don't know what's happening, but that's not an out of form attorney. That is a Washington attorney, and the named attorney. Did you Google the named attorney on the motion to dismiss?
No.
The named attorney was a clerk for the Chief Justice of the Ninth Circuit.
Okay.
That face. There's the face. There's the face. That's the face
that,
I made.
That motion doesn't read like that an attorney who clerked for a Ninth Circuit judge would write it.
Yeah.
Like
he practiced at O'Melveny in Los Angeles before going to this Washington. So I was reading his credentials going, something isn't matching for me.
Yeah, I'm not a guy who, like, I'll criticize little things about the filings, mostly as jokes, especially if there's like funny typos. Yep. One guy just could not figure out apostrophes, and I think he was using like a speech to text to write his documents. And so that became funny, but it's like, okay, these things don't have much impact other than being annoying. But when I was, and admittedly, I have not read the full document on the response.
It's hard.
But yeah, it's hard, and I ran out of time. But what I did read, though, it's like, again, they left out several causes of action in their motion, and it's like, wait, are you trying to keep this lawsuit going? Because this is how you keep the lawsuit going rather than ending it. It's very strange. But yes, one of the things you brought up in one of your videos was that they were raising or asking for judicial notice of YouTube videos, which is weird to do.
They asked for judicial notice of the contents of the YouTube videos and of like a Zillow printout. And I was just like, wait, what? We can't ask for judicial notice of the fact that Trisha Paytas thinks that Toddy Westbrook sucks. Like, that's essentially what they're asking for the judge to take notice of the fact that PewDiePie didn't like Bi Sister and that Trisha Paytas thought Bi Sister sucked, that Carmageddon was a thing, and that Shane Dawson hated the Breaking My Silence video and had an internet freak out about it on live stream before Rylan made him turn it off. Like, those, we pulled up all of the videos listed and we're like, wait a second, this is a Know Your Meme website defining Carmageddon that's been asked to take judicial notice of. There is a law clerk somewhere going, what in the ever-loving fuck is this? You can't take judicial notice of that.
I now want judicial notice of all dank memes. Like, that's nothing else. Like, let's get these judges educated on the internet. We can fix this. They have a lifetime appointment. They need to know.
Absolutely. They need to know. They need to know what Know Your Meme is. But it just, I appreciate putting it in the footnote so the judge is up to speed and saying, like, this is what we're talking about. Here it is, even though I don't think it's relevant for that. But the judicial notice was like, for me, it was one step too far. It was like, but the judge doesn't give a fuck if Trisha Paytas thinks you suck. Like, the judge doesn't want to see Trisha Paytas in that video or any of the videos.
Could you
imagine a judge Googling Trisha Paytas?
I don't even know who that is. Let me see. Let's do it live.
God. Google Trisha Paytas and see what comes up. I haven't Googled her
Is
lately.
it CIA or SHI?
Trisha.
Trisha. Oh my gosh, it autofilled Paytas when I got to Trisha.
There you go.
Oh, Jesus. What happened to this person?
I don't know. Did OnlyFans come up? Did Twitter come up? Are there body parts?
It's just there's so much, I don't know if it's collagen or Botox or what is going on, but I feel like I'm watching an 80s movie about zombies and stuff. This is terrifying. I don't like it, okay? Have you ever seen Mannequin? You've seen Mannequin, right?
Oh, absolutely seen Mannequin. Has the chat seen Mannequin?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
But it's like before she's alive, Mannequin. This woman looks unrealistic. Okay, so what?
And I don't again, don't hate Trisha Paytas, but it's not relevant. It's just not relevant. And I imagine some poor law clerk going, "Why the fuck is any of this relevant?" Because it's not. Trisha Paytas isn't relevant to jurisdiction. PewDiePie's not relevant to jurisdiction. Jeffree Star and his misspelling of his name is not relevant to jurisdiction.
Now, had they gone for a 12b6? No, I don't think you even bring it up then. All this stuff comes later.
All this stuff comes later.
It all comes later. Okay, so for those,
maybe in the response, just because you also want your side to be heard, and because there's already stuff out there, and you might have a client that's like, I really want to say that she sucks in my response. So the response might be like, hey, judge, you don't understand the context. But even then, we're not there yet.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you who, the defamation cases I cover on this channel tend to involve an anti-slap of some sort. That's a different animal than a 12b6.
Yep.
There's some similar principles involved, but a 12b6 is more broad than an anti-slap. What a 12b6 motion is you make the allegation that the other party has failed to state a claim for which relief can be granted by the court. And that comes in a couple different things. One, that they failed to state a claim in the first place. And then, of course, for which relief can be granted. So you can have a claim, but if the court can't remedy that claim, it also doesn't belong there. So with an anti-slap, what you might be trying to do is make an affirmative defense of truthfulness of your claims, which an affirmative defense inherently admits a defamatory statement.
Yes, I said it, but I can.
Right, exactly. A 12b6 motion, you don't want to get anywhere near admitting that there is any controversy at all. Like, you want to just go with the idea that this isn't a claim at all. So to bring up the fact that there are other people saying bad things and that harmed their reputation also is like, that's your tacit admission that your words had, at least in theory, had the potential to cause damage. And you don't want to be there. You don't want to be there at all. So that's why we're saying that this stuff comes later, because
it didn't.
Yeah. If
it didn't make sense.
If they pass that 12b6 motion, that's when, okay, now I'm going to file my answer, and we're going to make motions for summary judgment. And we're going to say, no, this is all true because I said this, but this is, look at this consensus of people who say the same thing. And I'm basing my information off of reliable statements of others, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, I said all this stuff, but it's also true. So again, no defamation. We agree.
Right. It felt like they were trying to do part 12b6, but also part summary judgment motion, but also part jurisdictional motion. And it felt like there were too many types of motions in the one motion. And that was where I was so confused. I'm like, and I agree with you. I would have done jurisdiction first, and then I don't know if I would 12b6 it, because it really seems like a waste of money and time. If you're going to go, I would have put the money, time, and effort into the summary judgment with those affirmative defenses. That's what I would have done.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the adage that you always file a 12b6. That's not a true adage, but it's a truest adage. So, I guess you file it, but yeah, it might be a waste. It might be a waste of, $10,000 to have your
Right.
lawyer write it up and then go have a hearing on it if you're going to just go with an affirmative defense anyway.
Right. If the defense is, yes, I said it, but it's true, then do that. Do the summary judgment motion on that.
mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I was getting at before we tangented off of this statement, I believe, that there's a vast resource difference between these two parties. And it seems to be. And I think that's reflected by the underlying lawsuit between the Westbrooks and their business partner, which I haven't read that one, but getting the context from their complaint, that is a business dispute over the unauthorized distribution of $5 million or something like that from Halo.
No.
Okay, so that's not that.
No, I can clarify it though, if you like.
Okay, but
It
help me
is-
out before you clarify. Is there some alleged unauthorized distribution from Halo that they later defended as a quarterly distribution?
Yes.
Okay, but that's a separate thing than this.
It's in the suit. It is an allegation in the suit that money was distributed to all the partners, including the partner that's suing, but that he didn't agree or authorize the distribution at that time. And then it was said that that's a quarterly distribution.
So
But yes, that came up. But that's not the heart of the thing.
Right. But that is so that distribution, we don't know the amount of that distribution.
No, we don't.
Okay.
It was a quarterly distribution that kind of end of quarter.
Right.
Some of the defamatory statements around it were that it looted the company or that it left the company without operating funds, and that's been said to be untrue in the response to the business partner suit, which
Sure.
has not been filed in court yet.
Okay. So here I was thinking that this is a $20 million annual distribution company, which is pretty big. But it is still, we're still
No.
talking about a multi-million dollar enterprise. And
Absolutely.
frankly, a YouTube channel with 9 million plus subscribers. If you're not pushing close to 7 figures at that level of YouTube, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and they've alleged that there was some pretty hefty money made per video for her. And in the business partner suit, I mean, the heart of the business partner suit is that the business wasn't owned equally, and then the ownership shifted. So the business partner owned 50%, Toddy and her husband owned 50%, divided in half. And then it shifted to a third, a third, a third. And the business partner alleges that it shifted because they agreed that everything she released would go under that business. But then she went ahead and released a makeup palette and some other things not underneath the Halo umbrella, and that he was essentially cut out of any funds from that improperly. Their side of that seems to be, no, he wasn't holding up his end, and that's why we went to the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 distribution, and we never agreed that everything ever released in perpetuity under her name would be under Halo. So that's what it's an argument over. It's an argument over whether or not they defrauded him in enticing him to shift his 50% ownership to a 1/3 ownership
Okay.
at the heart of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So I pulled up the Social Blade stats for Tati Westbrook, and
Awesome.
she must not be releasing videos right now.
Oh, none at all. She's off of YouTube.
Okay. I wish I could see what she was making. I mean, she has 1.4 billion views.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Mhm.
I don't know how else to describe it, but she still gets 60,000 views a day. If
Yeah, it's a lot of
monetized.
views.
If those are monetized, which I assume they are because it's beauty products and stuff like that, hard to
Yeah.
not monetize. I mean, she's still making several $100s a day
Absolutely.
on that. But yeah, I assume the bulk of her income now is coming through the company Halo.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because Halo is still selling products, just recently released a new product, even though this lawsuit's going on. The makeup company hasn't done anything. There hasn't been any new products or anything like that for, I think it's been almost a year. The chat might know better than I do, but I think it's been a year. But yeah, she came out with one video, the Breaking My Silence, and then maybe another one after that, and that's it. So nobody has really heard from her since the end of, I mean, maybe March, April was the last time people heard from her, but I'm not sure. It could have been more into the summer than that.
Sure. Perception Check says, poor Nick is about to be traumatized. Trisha Paytas is a creature from the pits of hell.
Wow, that's a strong definition. That's a strong definition.
It is, but upon reviewing the evidence, I have to agree.
Nick's going to allow it.
Terrifying.
You don't follow her on Twitter, so just be thankful and don't go digging around for what you don't want to see.
Don't you tell me that there's horrific nudes.
There's horrific nudes. There's horrific nudes on Twitter. There's horrific nudes.
Of course there is.
She's very popular on OnlyFans.
Oh, God.
She did an OnlyFans. I didn't know until the Law Nerds told me she did an OnlyFans video with Nikocado Avocado, who is somebody I do not follow.
The guy who just eats stuff? Like,
yes.
And like a phenomenal amount of food?
Yes.
Yeah, he does the mukbangs or whatever.
And she used to do mukbangs as well and has done them with Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star and then went into full porn up on the OnlyFans and makes quite a lot of money there and has shared some of that. She has a podcast. Apparently it's a very popular podcast. She has a podcast with what's that guy? Who's the guy that's on the Frenemies podcast? I don't know who he is. There's a guy.
Frenemies podcast?
Yep.
I don't know. I have the power of the internet at my hands. Frenemies. I've heard of this.
Yes.
Frenemies podcast. Oh my gosh. Oh, is that Ethan Klein?
Is that who that is?
H3H3.
Yeah, that person.
Oh God, that's a whole separate bucket of drama.
I don't know who I don't know. I don't know the H3H3. The only thing I saw about H3H3 was there was some merch that may or may not have been ripped off by, I think, James Charles. There was like competing merch. And I was like, oh, that does look strikingly similar. But look, I haven't. The chat knows.
All I know about H3H3 is that Keemstar is the father of H3H3's baby. That's all I know.
That sounds like a lot of drama.
You have no idea.
It's a whole different section of YouTube drama that I have not.
Welcome to the scumbag regime of YouTube. Now you're in my territory.
Can you tell that I follow mostly female creators? It's like I like to watch people that are sort of my age but on makeup and talk about decorating.
Okay,
and sometimes Yu-Gi-Oh, because my kids are into Yu-Gi-Oh and I still can't figure it out. So
I will never understand it. But my brother-in-law played Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like, I mean, I played Magic the Gathering, and even I think this is nerdy. So
my kids play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. We're that kind of a nerd family. Now I've got to there's going to be a whole rabbit hole on H3H3 because I'm going to have to learn. The chat is like, you need to know. I'm like, I need to know. I need to know.
Okay, so you're into BeautyTube a little bit.
Like BeautyTube
as a hobby.
I like TechTube. I love you. Look, I love YouTube. I have really enjoyed YouTube. God, even before I was on YouTube, but I started doing some YouTube videos as just a way to have community when I was going through my back surgeries. And it was just such a great way to connect when I wasn't at work and there wasn't really much I could go do. I mean, it was before my first back injury was before Pokemon Go came out. So I didn't have a lot to do. There was no Nintendo Switch. So YouTube was really the thing. And I couldn't make law related videos because I was still employed by the County of Los Angeles. And that's something you cannot do. Like if you want to give your legal opinion and you're employed by someone, you cannot do. So
I have a buddy who's a prosecutor in one of the southern states, and it's like, man, I would love to get his stories on all of the meth heads and stuff that he has to put in jail. Because of course, when you're like the grunt, you get the petty drug cases to start.
Yep.
Because nobody wants to do that, and so he had to do that for a while. It's like, man, I want to interview him, but he can't do it. Yep. Okay, but the reason I'm at, so are you into like fashion and stuff like that just generally, or is it?
No.
Oh, because
I enjoy the beauty stuff because it's relaxing and fun to watch. I dig a good skincare video. Not into fashion.
Okay, so you don't have like, do you have? I was gonna ask what kind of shoes you like and stuff like that.
Oh, I will talk about my shoes all day long, but I like
Really,
men's Adidas shoes
men's
because
Adidas.
I do. My family and I have very big feet. I love NMDs and Ultra Boosts. I love
Okay,
sneakers.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't get to wear sneakers to court. It's one of my greatest pleasures with working for myself is that when I go speak on stages and when I do just about anything, I can wear I can wear sneakers. I'm sorry, Irish Badass in the chat just distracted me with Ringo, which is an Inside Law Nerds joke about a case I'm going to be talking about soon.
What case is that?
Well, somebody has released an adult vibrating toy named the Ringo, and
Yes.
Ringo Starr is not amused, and there was a motion for summary judgment.
Really? Okay.
Yep,
So,
over trademark.
so he's trademarked Ringo Starr, I suppose.
Mhm.
Is there a likelihood of customer confusion?
I mean, maybe?
Is
Maybe? It seems a little cheeky.
is it a phallic vibrating
Yes.
toy?
Yes, it is. It
Okay.
is a vibrating ring.
Oh, so it's a ring though. It's not a
Well, it's not a ring for your fingers.
right. No, a Ringo is a ring though, not a.
Yes.
So it's not okay. See, I was thinking it would be a penis shaped implement that would
Nope.
be it'd be like, no, that's mine.
Nope. Yep.
That was reproduced without
That'd
permission.
be very interesting. So I got distracted by the Ringo.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But no, it's become a legal thing. I've got the motion for summary judgment, and we're gonna break it. We're gonna break it down.
You think he's gonna spoiler? Do you think he's gonna win?
I don't know. I haven't read through the motion for summary judgment yet. I mean, I think he's probably annoyed. I don't know if there's a confusion that but I don't know.
Doesn't
I
seem
haven't
like
gone
there
through it
would
enough.
be that would be the
Confusion.
same market at
I
all.
don't think
Like,
it's the same market at all.
I'm not gonna buy a cock ring and think that I'm gonna get Beatles songs out of it. And if I did, I would
But
return it
wouldn't be
immediately.
better? Wouldn't it be better? Oh, so funny.
Yeah,
So
you
we'll
put it
see.
on and it starts playing Wouldn't It Be Nice? That would be
That would be brilliant.
this is a
Not
this is a
licensed,
mood
brilliant.
killer right now.
Sorry, y'all. We took a left turn, but no. In the things I watch on YouTube, I enjoy. I enjoy my Pokemon Go commentary channels. I enjoy the beauty community because it's messy. I like a lot of the commentary community because it's fun. You know, easy stuff. I like smart
That-
creators. I love iJustine. I've always loved iJustine. She's entertaining as hell. MKBHD. I like a lot of the tech space as well.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you the second tough question.
Mm-hmm.
This is the deep stuff. Who's your least
stuff.
favorite law commentator?
I don't think I have a least favorite law commentator. I haven't watched enough law commentators to have a least favorite law commentator. Everybody's different.
I can fix this.
Okay.
His name is Legal Eagle.
I haven't watched much Legal Eagle. I know he's very popular. I have not watched much Legal Eagle.
He shouldn't be. I'm on a personal crusade. I will be KJ or whatever to Legal Eagle's empire. I will ruin that man with my reporting.
Tell me why. I want to know. I want to know all the things.
Okay, so look, I look at your setup, okay?
Mhm.
And I say, I immediately can identify with this person. This is a person with their life in some ways on display behind you, right? You've got,
Yep.
I can get kind of the aesthetic of your room. I can see some things and make out kind of what, I can't see specific books or anything, but
Yep.
you look like a real human being.
True.
You look behind me and you see a bunch of nerdy crap, which is great.
Oh, I've got nerdy crap. There's definitely nerdy crap. Like most of my Pokemon are up there though, so you can't see all of them.
Right.
But there's like Pokemon and Unikitties.
Yeah. And
my
I've got,
nerd toys are definitely on the shelf. Your nerd toys, you got the Dragon Ball Z going on, like.
yeah, I got Dragon Ball Z and Warhammer 40K. Look,
Love it.
there's no hiding it anymore. But
No.
so that's part of who we are. Legal Eagle shows up and does his videos in a tailored suit from some suit company that sponsors his channel. And he sits in front of what I think may be a green screen because he's a dirty son of a bitch. And he has like the book of the Federal Register books.
There's
behind
law
him.
books. I can't watch a lawyer with law books.
Exactly.
You put fucking law books behind it, and it just looks like a Jacoby and Myers commercial. Like I can't.
Right.
With that.
Because
law books, I'm out on law books.
You look at that stack of law books and you know that if that stack of law books is real, that's a minimum 5 to 10 grand of law books.
But why? You can just get like the internet version with like
Westlaw. Just get Westlaw.
Just like get Westlaw. You don't need the books.
So
they used to just collect dust at the DA's office. We had so many of them because we would have really old cases. So we would actually go back to the books. But they collected dust. They always made you sneeze. They were awful. Once we had access online, it was like, oh, thank fucking Christ that we can actually just go online and get the law that we need. Those books are awful. Sorry.
Yeah.
I hate law books in the background. You've killed me with the law books in the background.
Nobody in Guelph. I've seen the chat from Daniel McCarthy. I don't know off the top of my head. Vice President Pence. I've signed a letter from Arizona legislators invoking Article 2, Section 1 of the United States Constitution. I don't know. That's not like that statement alone doesn't tell me any amount of information that I need to talk about that. So I'll look into it, but I can't tell you what that means on stream. That line alone means nothing. Arizona legislators can't invoke Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution very well because it kind of just talks about what the federal legislatures have power to do in regards to elections. So, and we'll see. Maybe the Arizona legislature is going to enact their right to choose their electors outside of what the what their general election results are. And that's a whole different, it would be very interesting.
That would be very interesting.
I'm always down for legal chaos, especially in the realm of politics, and I don't even care how the cards fall.
I'm exhausted with this election. There have been so many lawsuits, and some of them also poorly written. And like, but where's the evidence? Like, I would like facts. I understand you want to say the things, and there's a Kraken, we've been told, but
the Kraken's tentacles are being chopped off pretty readily by lower court judges.
Well, yes.
And but I have to say, I sympathize on one side, not with the Kraken itself, because I don't really care about who's doing the suit, but I sympathize against the latches argument because I go, wait a minute. I don't think they could have actually brought suit 3 months ago and credibly alleged that they were going to install software that would fraudulently tabulate votes. Whether or not that actually occurred, right? Like,
no, because it wouldn't be ripe yet.
Right, but that's what the latches dismissals are all saying, is that, well, they should have brought this lawsuit months ago when the Dominion...
But it wasn't ripe.
And it's like, wait, yeah, because just because there's a Dominion device doesn't mean necessarily that the software... the alleged fraudulent software algorithm was implemented on that device. So there's no way they could credibly allege that it would be until the injury occurs. Right. So now they're saying the injury has occurred and it takes time to get witnesses and evidence. So I sympathize with that. I'm frustrated that it took them 3 weeks to file. Because
if they knew it was coming, which it sounds like this was their working theory of what was going to happen, then this should have been the focus of all the things.
Right. And that's one thing. I was talking about that with my friend before this show on a different stream. I was like, I imagine the Democrats have somewhere on some server in some law office have several lawsuits drafted up ready to contest the election. Their pre-election rhetoric screamed that they were ready to challenge the election as much as Republicans were. And I have more faith that the Democrats were actually prepared to file those prior to the election results being in. They just saw, where things were kind of going, and they're like, oh, well, we won't need these ever. Let's memory hole this and forget that it ever happened under client confidentiality. And now we'll attack the other side for attacking the integrity of the election, even though I'm pretty sure they plan to do the exact same thing, because this election was too contentious to not have it come to this.
I absolutely. And everything I talked about, people, and I don't love delving into politics all the time, but as I was talking about it, I was like, it's going to end up in it's going to end up in lawsuits. And I'm like, if it ends up in lawsuits, we'll talk about the lawsuits. It's going to end up in lawsuits. Half the people are going to be pissed about the way the lawsuits go. So it's a lose-lose for everybody. It's going to be a lawsuit. And the lawsuits, I'm fascinated by the lawsuits, but also there were so many.
For me, it's 3/4 of the people are pissed about the lawsuits, because there's half the people who are pissed at you politically, and then there's half of the side that you're arguing on that hates what you're saying, and goes again. It's like, you're just a shill or a plant. It's like, look, guys, if I was the Fed you say I am, I would have more money. But no, because
always in the pocket of the side that they don't agree with, instead of just going, no, we're trying to figure it out and we're trying to explain the law. So we were like, this is what the law is happening. This is how the law is working.
Because I have my political opinion completely separate from my legal opinion. But I do want to say, I don't want to delve on the political stuff too much.
No, it's okay.
But I do want to say the most interesting lawsuit, if you haven't looked into it, to me, is Kelly versus the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And that is Mike Kelly and Sean Parnell, and they're alleging the unconstitutional law change. And that one, that's the one Alito has moved up the hearing to now today. It's because it's December 8th where I am. Alito has moved up his response to the motion for preliminary injunction to today, and he's expected to rule because today's Safe Harbor Day. So I think that'll be really instructive as to their chances of anything happening. But I think that case bothers me because they dismissed, again as latches, a facial constitutional challenge to the substance of the statute. Can they have passed this statute at all? The judge is like, well, latches. And it's like, wait a minute. One of the arguments they raised is pretty instructive, and it's that if this law stands, the provisions of this law will be used to vote on the constitutional amendment required to pass this law next year.
Right.
And it's like, how that is the wildest thing to say that's latches. Even if they don't want to get to the point of we're going to overturn an election, that's a separate question. And this is what the two dissenting Supreme Court justices said in Pennsylvania was, we disagree with the latches thing. We agree that the remedy is too much. We're not going to overturn the votes, but we disagree that this is that this is an issue that is barred by latches, because we need to figure that out. So I'm curious how Alito's going to go on this, because even if he doesn't do an injunction for the election, I have a feeling Supreme Court's going to have to take up that case.
They're going to have to do something.
And figure out if that's a thing. But anyway, that's way too much politics for this. I want to remind you.
We were talking about fluffy beauty drama, and then we got into like serious world shit. But it's, again, it's all interesting law. It's like, well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And it will be interesting to see how it plays out. The ramifications in YouTube drama are way less significant, which is why, for me, it's a lot more fun. It's like, ooh. How is the public figure argument going to fall after Bye Sister? I want to know.
They're less significant globally, but this is the beauty of law.
Yes.
It's the most important thing in the world to at least KJ and probably the Westbrooks, other than their other lawsuit that's going on. Like, this is, for them, this will be eating them alive for the next 6 months to 2 years, depending on appeals and stuff like that, however it ends up.
I think definitely longer than 6 months on the defamation. But a jury trial on defamation that is playing completely out of YouTube, because there are other defamation cases going on with a YouTuber and with Cardi B. There are other defamation cases, but this one is one of the first that I've paid a ton of attention to that is really YouTuber versus YouTuber. And I think it can have an impact on the YouTube community. So in a way, it does have impact for all of us to see how this comes down on what you can and can't say in commentary, and whether you will start to see larger YouTubers going after smaller channels, even with it with 4 cease and desist. I can't imagine letting it get past 4 cease and desist. I mean, most of my clients are like, "I got a cease and desist. We need to deal with it." I'm like, "Yeah, we do." It's like, and I said it on my channel, it's like herpes. When you ignore legal shit, it gets worse, not better.
See, I don't know if I agree, because I think YouTube and public commentary, and I think we may be starting to see this a little bit. It doesn't conform to the traditional rules of sort of etiquette for law.
Yep.
You know, traditionally, if you get sued, you want to just shut up immediately, and it's like, okay, I'm not saying anything publicly, whatever. But I think if I had a platform or a client with a platform like Toddy Westbrook, or if I had a client even with a platform as big as KJ, like, I would, you know, mobilize that platform, mobilize the audience, for 2 reasons. One, if you're careful enough, and that's a tall order, that's a
tall order in this case.
You can keep it from impacting the lawsuit. And mobilizing doesn't mean that you necessarily go out and talk every day. But 2, if you play it right in the YouTube space, you can engineer a social win out of a legal loss.
Yes.
And that, I think, is an underexplored area. And I've been watching celebrities fail at this for years. And it's like, Johnny Depp seems to be doing it to some extent. I haven't followed his lawsuit entirely. I know he got shut down in the UK, which is a mess.
I just broke that down, but it's a whole different. But he has the weight of public support, and he has a stateside suit coming up that will be very interesting.
Right, and the UK court is, by the way, Keemstar's in the chat. Hey, what's up, man?
I saw that. What's up, Keem?
And I said we were just talking about it.
Roped into this shit too. Look, I didn't know that when I started commenting on drama, I would need to start screenshotting shit because like tweets would delete and stuff. I didn't know. I've learned, but Keem got roped into this thing too multiple times. He's been dragged right into it with the rest of us. But when you say you can win the court of public opinion,
yes, I
really thought that was the way this was going to go when I first saw a bigger YouTube channel suing a smaller YouTube channel. I'm like, there's going to be sympathy here. There's going to be a lot of like, hey guys, and especially since I don't think the weight of public opinion has swung back for Tati yet after By Sister. I don't. I still think there is skepticism there. I think there's people who don't love what happened there. So I think there was a lot of room for a lot of empathy towards KJ and Without a Crystal Ball. And then she would not stop talking about the lawsuit. She gloated about the lawsuit and then started attacking other channels. And that got real ugly real fast. So when she started attacking other people in the drama community, I was like, oh, because there was a chance for it to rally, and it didn't, based, I think, on her behavior after the suit was filed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you're the underdog, subscriber wise, and I mean the disparity in this is massive. And KJ is not a small channel. I think you or I would be very happy to have 150,000 subscribers.
135, according to the motion to dismiss.
Okay, 135.
Just saying.
What does Social Blade say?
I think 137 or something. It was odd to me that the numbers were different.
Well, it depends on when they take it, but either way, you or I would be happy with those numbers for sure. But
Yeah,
someone
absolutely.
like Toddy is 9 million, and that's a whole, like, the 7th figure is a whole different thing, and then redoing that 9 times is massive. And so you've got this huge disparity in power, and I think you could play the underdog card right, but you can't ever attack other people. You have to keep your target focused on being the victim of being punched down.
Yep.
You have to do that stuff. very carefully. But I do think that it's an effective tool. I think that you can leverage communities for, especially if you play your cards right, for support financially, because especially with when you're facing financial disparity that appears to be in this case, KJ would need support from the community to help fund the lawsuit. And lots of communities would be willing to do that if they believed the person had some sort of cause. But
Absolutely. I think once the video clips started coming out, the way I saw the timeline go, and I did not follow her until this happened, and don't follow her really, just other than this case. What I started seeing was the lashing out at other creators, and it turned, like Twitter turned, and then everybody was pulling up clips of, oh, but this was that, and this was that, and then she went after me. She went after the attorney on the case and started saying that he was violating state bar rules and he was violating. And I saw the chat was like, "Don't forget, she attacked Salty." So now she attacked she attacked the litigator on the case. She attacked Keem. She attacked a lot of people in the community. And then as these clips started coming out of the deep dive into Toddy's personal life, once that happened, I think it garnered quite a lot of empathy for Tati Westbrook that she didn't have before. And if I'm looking at this in just the social sphere, Tati has not had to come onto the internet. She hasn't said anything about this case. And every time there's an inconsistency, all of Twitter is like, but this, and but this, and but this, and but this. And it swung everybody back in the direction of being empathetic to Tati as these clips came out that people weren't previously aware of I'm researching her birth certificates, her dad doesn't have a job. Was he dead? Is he in the mafia? I researched her mom, her sister. Like all these clips came out and people were like, wait, what in the fuck is happening over in the drama community?
Okay, that stuff is a step. That's a step that I wouldn't advise taking to a client. Like I would say, so what I was...
Those were clips that predated the suit.
Right.
So once she started attacking other creators, everybody said, okay, well, to play that game, and started pulling up all these video clips of all the research she did into Toddy to expose her. And that is one of the things I think shifted opinion, plus attacking the drama community. The drama community has teeth. So if you go after them, and she threatened to cease and desist myself over making videos about it and a whole bunch of other people. And it was like a Twitter, like, I demand you cease and desist, over and over and over towards different people in the community. And so that kind of popped it all off into a bigger sphere of drama. If she had gotten sued and said, I am getting sued, I'm not going to comment on it, it's going to be expensive and it's going to be stressful for my family. If you continue to support my channel, we're not going to address it, and I'll still be here, I think people would have had a tremendous amount of empathy for her.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways to do it. That would be a great one. The one way you don't want to do it, I think, is to go ahead and say, I'm going to ignore these cease and desists.
All 4 of them.
About my videos about someone. But when someone else makes a video about me, I'm going to send them a cease and desist.
Correct.
That's the inconsistency that you don't want. It's an inconsistent message. And I would love to, I will offer my consulting services to her for the low price of a lot of money. And it'll simply be like,
really what happened. And then the chat that's familiar with it, she doxed another creator. She put privacy strikes on people that were talking about her there. And so then it just kind of spiraled. And then because there were 3 and 4 live streams a day and sometimes more, and live streams on different platforms and on Twitter, it got very big. And that's why people kept paying attention to it. And then there would be a live stream talking about the case, and then it would get deleted in light of the fact that there's this pending, motion to preserve. And then people are like, but the video went up and then it was deleted and there's this motion and it's going to come into court. So it just kept growing. And now the business partner suit that really is the bigger suit. In my opinion, it's financially the larger gravity of the thing. Has kind of slipped to the wayside. Like that's the one where there's fraud alleged and all this other stuff. But because of the online behavior, the defamation suit has definitely taken the driver's seat in the pole position of the stuff going on with Toddy Westbrook. And it's what everybody wants to see is going to happen next, because that's the one that's got stuff popping off daily.
Yeah, it's weird because when I started reading this case, I automatically assumed, because I have no idea. Like, you're telling me
Absolutely.
this stuff and it's blowing my mind. It's great. But I automatically assumed that Toddy is punching down and being just a complete catch you next Tuesday about this. That was my initial assumption, is like, okay, this is someone who's suing over basically nothing. But I was reading the defamatory statements and I'm like, okay, well, this one isn't defamatory, but this one, I mean, that is alleging a crime. And that can be per se defamation. I mean, I know defamation suits do get weird, and like what judges will allow. Some of the holes I found is like, okay, in this video, this line is defamatory. I'm like, okay, well, that's going to boil down to a bigger legal argument about whether the gist of the entire video is defamatory and this was just merely an error or mistake. And then you can argue that that the whole thing is truthful, even if one or two things are incorrect. That's kind of a shield for journalists in general. So I was like, okay, but then again, some of these things are like, you're stating that they defrauded some guy, but then wasn't there a default judgment on a fraud with the husband?
But it was dismissed.
So that was dismissed. So it wasn't a default.
Correct.
Or it was a default, but then they got the default dismissed.
Correct.
Okay.
It's things like that where there's like these little things that are half true, but then or there are things that are like, yes, there's this legal document, but then the connections made from the legal document become the defamatory thing because it takes it and extrapolates it 2 steps further. So that's where some of the problems are in the defamatory case. But the defamatory case has 40 videos alleged. It's going to be an extensive case. I can't imagine how long depositions are going to take in this case, because they're going to go through all of those videos. And then there's been videos made afterwards that double down on it, saying, no, I meant what I said, essentially. So
could you imagine, like, well, we're going to depose PewDiePie. We're going to hire
this is what I'm living for.
Local Japanese counsel to get Pewds on a deposition. That would be
we're gonna depose Jeffree Star. We're gonna depose everyone involved in Dramageddon and Carmageddon. It's just the days of depositions over playing the videos. I can just imagine them going through all of the YouTube videos and pausing it. Well, did you not mean that? Did you mean this? Did you not mean that? Did you mean this? Did you not mean that? Did you mean this? Days and days and days. And that's after they get through the evidentiary hearings on the stuff that's been deleted, because there is stuff that's been deleted. So
yeah, you guys think it takes me a long time to get through a video when we're doing a reaction? You're pausing like every 6 seconds. Wait until it's a lawyer doing it to someone under oath, because there will be no end to the pauses. It'll be embarrassing.
It's going to be weeks of depositions going over those videos, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot.
Do you think so you think the defamation's going to go through at the end of the day? You think that go through initial pretrial dismissal? I
do. Particularly as to the husband. I think there's enough to get to pretrial. I think the hardest part of some of the defamation, the husband aside, because I think some of the husband statements that are defamatory per se, some of those are defamatory per se. It's going to be very interesting to see what the arguments are. But when it comes to the public figure that is Tati Westbrook, the damages part will be very interesting for me, of how are we going to get to damages on this? Are we going to get enough damages? But also, if all those videos come in, there's a lot of people on the internet who've watched the background videos, and I hadn't seen them when I read the initial case. And then when I saw some of them going, I'm trying to expose her, I'm searching into her family records, these are the things I'm doing. Jurors don't love that. And then if they get a jury instruction of evidence was destroyed, which is what they're asking for in the motion to preserve, you add some of that backstory, and then you add the jury instruction potentially of evidence was destroyed in this case that's prejudicial to one side. Juries don't like that either. So with defamation, I don't know. I think this is going to turn on a jury with the defamation. I really do.
Yeah, and there's some real ways to go about it. I get the counter argument for KJ's side would be to show, would be to, I guess, really to focus on Toddy's attack of James Charles and saying
Absolutely.
Toddy entered this arena, right? Willingly, knowing what was going to happen. She thrived on the drama. Look at this. How many millions of views, did damage of her own, and then later tried to pass it off as someone else, not taking responsibility for her own actions, trying to preserve
Absolutely.
her brand. Like, those are the kind of arguments.
So
And
there's
again,
no damage. So there's no damage here, because look at all this damage that happened. It's going,
right.
and that's going to be very interesting. I think the ones that are hard for me is when you look at the reporting on the business partner lawsuit and go to, well, the business partner lawsuit says this, and that means these things that could be defamatory. Those types of extrapolations are going to be hard, because if they narrow down on what they're saying is defamatory, it takes by sister out of it. If it just goes to, these were the underlying lawsuits and they say this, but she made them say this, then by sister comes out of it, which would be interesting, an interesting quirk to it as well, because then it's just misreporting on those documents. So we'll see. I mean, the damages, I've said the damages are hard. I think the defamatory per se is a little easier. And I think some of the defamation to the business, and this is based on what I've seen in my video comment sections, because that's the perfect way to decide something. If you want to poll a jury,
Yeah, we got
all
a
the
jury
people in the comment section on Twitter or in the comment section on a video. But a lot of people have said, after seeing the videos that were made about the business, about Halo, I stopped buying them based on her reporting of it. And so that will be interesting too.
Yeah, the question is, can you quantify those amounts? There'll be some complicated stuff, I think, going with when Toddy stopped making YouTube content, because that's one way. Normally, had she continued making YouTube content, you could say, okay, we have a marked reduction in views, we have a marked reduction in live stream performance, whatever it is, you have metrics. But if those metrics cease around the same time that this stuff is ramping up, then you don't have a relative damage measurement. You've got a complicated business arrangement being redone, a restructuring of the business.
Yep.
And if I'm KJ's lawyer, I'm arguing that that business is being restructured in a way that is presumptively favorable to Toddy by giving her a higher effective share, by moving from basically a 50% share to a 66% share. And I'm going to argue that that is done because they're recognizing some sort of loss or problem, and they're trying to restructure to make a more favorable outcome for themselves, and that is reflective of pre-existing damage. So there's a lot. Yeah, if they weren't damaged prior to this and doing this restructure, they wouldn't be doing the restructure in the first place if everything was going great. So clearly their brand had already suffered damage, and we can't calculate the amount of damage that this person did. But at the same time, I look at their request of $5 million, and I don't know the numbers, the financial numbers involved at the baseline level, but I look at that and I go, there's almost no way without a crystal ball caused $5 million of damage. I think they're going to have a real hard time selling that.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's the amount provable at trial. I mean, I understand the jurisdictional bit. I understand that 5 million makes it seem more intimidating, and I get why you put that in there after sending somebody for cease and desist. But I think again, and I've said it in every single video, damages is going to be interesting. And the chat was pointing out something we hadn't even gotten into, is that Toddy and her business actually got a bump from By Sister, a substantial bump. And so there's been videos breaking down how many subs she gained and how well her business was doing after that. So it will be very, very interesting to see, because her makeup line launched after By Sister and sold out and did tremendously well. So it will be interesting to see. Right. There was that.
I would use that. Like, again, just thinking, like, trying to take the alternate perspective from KJ's side, that would be, look at what this person did to launch their makeup line.
Business. Oh,
exactly. Gosh, that just sounds slimy.
And
Um,
that was truly part of her reporting or her coverage or her statements on this was
right.
that from the beginning is that Toddy was attacking James Charles because he talked about a rival brand. And this was over business more than it was over friendship. And I think the
Yeah.
numbers show that she definitely got a bump from My Sister.
Yeah, and that's an interesting play, and that's one of the things that I was struggling with some of the defamatory allegations. Again, some of them are per se defamatory, and so the question for the judge will be, well, they fall under the category of statements that are per se defamatory in general. The question will be, are they per se defamatory in this case? Are they somehow being misconstrued and maybe they're just non-actionable opinion in the context of the publication? I don't know. But some of the statements look like, okay, I can see actionability on these. But there are a lot of other ones where it's like, these are fact statements. Like, I guess it's a fact statement that Tati Westbrook, for example, that she did the Bi Sister because she was mad about the James Charles using a competing product, right? Like, somewhere that's either true or false.
Right.
But at the same time, like, the practicality of ever finding that answer, a judge may go, that's an easy opinion conclusion to make that kind of sounds factual.
Right.
And so there are a lot of those statements where it's like, these sound factual at first. In some contexts, they could be factual, but at the same time, these could also just be opinions masquerading as facts. And this is a muddy one. I like it.
It's a muddy one. It really is. Legally, it's very, very interesting. I think it's why I was so disappointed with the motion to dismiss, because I was
Terrible.
ready for the chess game. I was like,
Right.
there are real questions of law here that will be very interesting to see play out, and I'm ready for them to start to play out. And in part, I was promised on social media there were very big statements made that this motion to dismiss was going to be bombs dropping and it was going to be this huge thing, and then it doesn't state the section of the code that they're trying to dismiss it under. And I was like, where are my I don't even see 12b6 written in here.
It's
Definitely not wrong.
just hire a second year an L2 or 2L intern and just have them go through your civil procedure section. Like, they'll be happy to apply it.
Yep. It would my legal writing professor would not have. But I think because there's been so much talk, again, because there's so much talk about this on social media, it muddies it even further. And because there's the people who have followed this have followed both sides, and there are so many videos involved of people going, oh, I can go watch for myself and see what I think, see if I think this is defamatory, see what I think about it. Of course, that's not a jury in a courtroom. They haven't been instructed on the law. Evidence hasn't been parsed. But it feels like because a lot of this played out on YouTube, people can play along at home. And I think that's why this particular case is garnering so much interest. Is, well, up until not that long ago, most of the videos that are in that complaint were still up and people could go look at them. And I know there's Reddit threads that have them all preserved.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you about in just a second. I'm falling behind on some of these chats, so I want to hit them. And then we're going to go back to that evidence preservation. Satan Swing says, the short of the H3H3 drama, Ethan used to be for free speech, but then after a meeting with CEO Susan, he somehow, for whatever bans YouTube seems to bring down, makes me use my thinking thoughts on how those are connected. Yeah, well, look, I don't know anything about H3H3 Productions. I've already said my piece about Keemstar being the father. Nova Zero says, hey, Nick, thanks for this. All my interests are aligning since Nux was #1 on the hub for a bit, and Yu-Gi-Oh! And oh, it all comes together. Reasons to love YouTube. Thanks, Nicker. You too, Emily. Also, your favorite chaos god.
My favorite chaos god?
They know mine.
What's your favorite chaos god?
Papa Nurgle gives the best gifts. That's all I've got. Okay.
I'm lost. I'm sorry.
get-
I literally have an answer for most things. I have no answer.
We'll
for
do
that.
this like a multiple choice on a question where you are unprepared for the test. I will give you
Yes,
the 4 choices, and
Yeah,
you
what
will.
are the 4 choices?
There's Nurgle. We'll label
Okay.
him as A. There is Korn. That is B.
Corn
Khorne.
with a K, like the band.
Khorne.
Okay.
There is Sinch. I'm not going to spell that. It's a mess. And then there's Slanesh. So you have to pick A, B, C, or D without knowing anything further.
I mean, I feel like Corn's the way to go.
Oh, that's a good choice. Thank you.
It may or may not be because of the band, but
that's okay. It's
there's a
it's
way to pick.
unbridled rage and destruction. So
That works for me.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
a good choice. You went there. No, malice is not E. Stop it. Sorry.
I was a Division I college water polo player, so unbridled rage definitely has been a part of my life.
You nailed it then. Uncivil Law says, I am here for the tea. Teabag me.
Uncivil.
Teabag me, law daddy.
I love that you all have that kind of relationship.
Well,
I feel like there's a whole side of LawTube I've been missing out on.
Listen. Well, I'll have to, this is off topic again, but I'll have to invite you to a big brain panel sometime. That's where some lawyers get together on the show and we just drink and talk about literally anything.
Perfect.
Which is, those are fun shows. And it delves
we drink and we know things.
Right, exactly.
Lawyers.
And it delves into us yelling about something.
Perfect.
Always. Siren Jag says, good night, Nick, as I must be up in 7 hours now. Nick, Trisha Paytas used to be a prostitute. Someone paid to plow that.
I don't know if that's accurate, but okay.
That's what Siren Jag says. I have no idea.
That's the allegation.
Trisha Paytas, please don't send the plastic army after me. Dogsplained says, wrong. The important question is, have you heard of DSP? Have you heard of DSP? Dark Side Phil?
No.
The patron saint of the internet?
No.
Okay, well, there's a whole nother realm of YouTube that you get to learn about at some point.
Oh, goody.
Dark Side Phil. He will outlast all of us. Every YouTuber forever. He is immune to all things. So he's great. He has his own random legal issues. Okay, so
spending too much in TechTube, apparently.
TechTube. Wait, are you like a Linus Tech Tips?
No, I like
viewer?
MKBHD and all my friends over on Wired Wednesday and Easy Computer Solutions, and there's a whole little corner of the tech commentary internet that I very much enjoy.
Okay, I don't delve into that. I just I occasionally watch some Linus Tech Tips and Short Circuit and stuff like that, but that's the extent of my tech.
That's what I love about YouTube. It's just there's so many little and there's drama in all of the communities.
Yeah.
Like the TechTube has its own drama, different types of commentary communities have their own drama. It's very fun.
I love it. It was like when my parents got cable and suddenly
the whole world opened up.
Yeah, we had like 60 channels. I was like, what is this? It was amazing.
Fantastic.
I only ever watched HBO. Okay, so I want to get back to the topic of the evidence preservation. Because I had an opinion question for you, and it's
sure.
So KJ may be deleting videos and stuff like that, destroying some sort of evidence. They clearly are suspicious of this. They've asked for the preservation. They've asked for recognition that something has been destroyed, which allows you to draw a negative inference from whatever may have been removed. Strategically, though, since the internet is forever and someone somewhere has archived what you did, presumably these videos are findable. You said there's Reddit threads with lots of them and stuff like that. Do you think strategically it's better for them to take the negative inference? And is that a lack of candor to the court? Those are two separate questions. So if KJ has destroyed evidence, but a minor amount of due diligence could procure said evidence, do they have an obligation to present said evidence even though it was destroyed? And if they don't have an obligation, is it strategically better to withhold it and take the negative inference?
You're like, is it better to take the L? What I have multiple thoughts.
Yeah.
The first is the point's well taken that they potentially lose the analytics. So even if the video itself exists, they potentially lose the analytics, which could potentially make it harder for them to prove. Here's the thing. I think with that negative inference, like, oh, it could have been seen by more people because as we've seen videos blow up about this topic, I think there's now room for plaintiff to argue it could have been seen by all these people and we'll never know because they deleted it. So I think it could actually benefit on the analytics side, saying, look, it could have been seen by more people than maybe it would have been. So I don't know, but would they have the obligation to show the video that has been preserved in another format through something like Reddit? I don't know if you could authenticate it. Um, and authenticate it as an unedited, true and correct version, which also becomes problematic. So
Wouldn't it be
do
that seems interesting because let's say, analytics aside, I agree with you. If your argument is talking about the scope and spread of this video, you can't easily procure that without seeing that. Although I think they could subpoena YouTube and get data on the video.
and I don't know if they can if the video's been deleted.
I don't
That's their argument, and I don't know how that works on the back end of YouTube.
I don't know that they can, but I know that whatever YouTube says the answer is, that it's there. Because
Right.
look, I've been round and round with Google on this. I had someone somehow hack into my Google account, and this person was not smart because if they were smart, they would have adjusted my AdSense bank and taken my YouTube money.
Right.
Instead, what they did was they used my Google account to just purchase a couple Pixel 4 XLs. So, and they went into my Gmail account and created a rule that would automatically filter out email from Gmail or from Google.
Yep.
And that's how I found it, because my YouTube partner was no longer sending me emails. I was like, hey man, where you
Weird.
at? Yeah. And then I found the rule. But so I talked to YouTube about it, and I was like, okay, what device made this purchase so I can figure out where the security compromise was. That's all I cared
Yeah.
about. And they were like, oh, we don't have access to that. I'm like, yeah. Okay. Listen, I know that you do. I know you IP log literally everything that happens on your site. So I know you know where a purchase came through, but they wouldn't give it to me. So I don't put it past YouTube to say, we don't have that information because it's deleted. But I know for a fact they have that information somewhere.
I know what I got on Facebook search warrant returns when I was doing criminal search warrants with Facebook, and it was a tremendous and staggering amount of data.
Yeah.
And there were some things that if they were gone, we didn't have as much data, but I've never done that with YouTube. So I really don't know, but we'll see. I mean, the attorney declaration says if YouTube videos are deleted, that the analytics are deleted. And I don't know if there's a time period for that.
Right.
We will see. I mean, eventually they're just going to have to subpoena YouTube and try to see stuff that's privated isn't a problem. It's just the stuff that's deleted that's going to be potentially an issue. But then if the thing still exists elsewhere,
Yeah.
then it becomes
So that's
a different issue.
Right. That's the second issue. So the analytics data is one thing, and that's scope and impact and all of that. But if they're alleging certain content in there is particularly salacious or on its own defamatory, one of the beautiful things about that is if you allege a particular statement occurs inside a video that is later deleted, then you don't get to make the argument that I mentioned earlier, that you say, well, the gist of the overall video was non-defamatory, and this statement may have just been an error or out of context. So then the question becomes, what if KJ were able to procure that video from Reddit and then authenticate it? That would be a way that it could be authenticated and enter the record.
But could it be authenticated in an like, hey, this is unaltered. We know that it's not been altered. I don't know how you would prove that, because at least when you edit things within YouTube after they've been uploaded, you know that they've been edited.
Yeah.
So how would you know that it hadn't been edited from the time it was taken from YouTube? I think it becomes a very interesting and difficult evidentiary question, because if you try to say, well, is this different? It's like, I don't know. That's a video from 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago. How the fuck do I know?
But if it
3 minutes are
behooves
gone.
you, if it behooves you
Exactly.
to say that it is
Exactly.
authentic and unedited, that'd be weird, because it'd be like,
Is it are they forced to accept it?
they'd have to argue against the person's ability to authenticate their own product. And that would be such a weird, like, it's inconsequential, I think, in the long run.
It's interesting though.
But it would be funny to watch, right? Like, are you telling me you remember every word of this video? Yeah, this one I do. This one I remember very well. It's lodged in my memory. I know there's no edits. Look, I went through it, and all of the jump cuts were my own things that I did. And I can say that
Right.
with certainty. Well, how can you say that with certainty? Does that mean that you have a local copy on your computer? Whoa, I didn't say that. You know?
Right.
It'd
And
be,
this is where we get into very long depositions.
yeah. And the KJ deposition would be forever.
So
Like that.
it's going to be. Especially, I don't know if they will ever, because stuff has happened since this has been filed. So I don't know if they will try to bring other videos or other statements. So it will be very interesting to see if this grows. But I think, once again, when you ignore 4 cease and desist, I've gotten asked a lot, do you think it'll settle? Once you force the lawyers into litigation and then poke at them with taunting them on Twitter and then deleting things, I don't think this is going away
Yeah,
in a settlement. I think this is going to jury.
that's an interesting part of all this is, yeah, if you poke the other side too much, they'll be less likely to settle, because it gets into the chest puffing.
Yep.
And there is no one immune to chest puffing. It doesn't exist. There may be some resistance to it, but no one's immune to it, not even lawyers. And that'll influence how lawyers advise their clients to proceed as well. They'll say,
Absolutely.
hey, they made you look like an asshole, which freely translates to they made me look like an asshole, but they made you look like it too. I see a chat in here, and it's something I appreciated from your video. It says all together now Iraq, which is a
Thank you, law nerds.
It's
Iraq.
a great topic about how bad the response or motion is that Iraq is a 4-letter acronym: intro, rule, and then it's, what is it? Application.
Either argument or analysis.
Yeah,
I go
argument.
with argument sometimes. Sometimes it's analysis. Sometimes it's application. But yes, one
Yeah.
of those A words.
And then conclusion. And so
Yep,
the
no,
idea is that's how you set up every single legal document that you write. All of them.
All of
Even a request for a continuance due to someone being sick.
The issue is I need a
I need a continuance. The reason
rule
or
is
rule
this.
is my client's
It's
sick
because
and
someone's
you are
sick.
old. If my client coughs at you, you will die.
Yes. The conclusion is please
Right.
put it over to the state.
Right.
Yeah, it's the lack of the basic formatting made it difficult to read. And I know if I'm having difficulty reading it, and I've read through it multiple times so I could make a video breaking it down, if I'm having difficulty reading it to parse it, a law clerk is not going to have the same patience, and a judge was definitely not going to have the same patience.
Right. Yeah. Judges especially.
Especially.
I think that's one of the things that is tough to get around. Judges don't have time. They just don't have time in their day. They have way too much on their plate to sit. And even if they don't have a lot on their plate, they've done a hearing that day, and that hearing required them to be familiar in some level with 300 to 500 pages of documents. They didn't read your thing today or tomorrow or the next day. They may read it the morning of, or they may skim it the morning of, and they're going to be relying on summaries from law clerks for most of their familiarity, which means you've got to give them digestible and clear discussion. You have to do that. And what I tend to find repetition works very well on I would say thematic repetition. I don't,
Yes.
I didn't like what they did with the lists in the complaint. I thought the lists got too burdensome and they're too wordy. Like when every item on the list is 4 lines because you write out
No,
upon
they were hard to parse.
Yeah. You could have just put on upon information and belief in your first thing before the colon and then not written it in every subsequent bullet point. You could have done that. But, you know, those types of things are annoying. But thematic repetition of this is defamatory, this is per se defamation, and bringing that back every single time, I think is good. I think part of that repetition plays into why they included statements that are probably not defamatory as well. They just want the judge to see this person says a lot of mean things.
Yeah.
And that's a strategy that I've seen praised and criticized. I don't know about you. What do you think of that strategy in general?
I think that when you give a jury somewhere to go, it allows them to parse and feel like they're making a difference that matters. So when you give jurors things that they can keep and things they can throw out, I've seen it go very well. And it's something that I tended to like to do in charging when it was appropriate. It was here is what everything is. I trust you to choose. And giving more than just the most critical statements, give a jury somewhere to choose and somewhere that if they have sympathy to say, yes, we're finding some of these because we have to, but we're not going to find all of these. So it gives a jury wiggle room. And I think that is, I think that often goes well when you play through a jury trial like this, especially if there will be some juries that may be empathetic. It just depends on what they see. There is room to play up the big YouTuber beating up on a small YouTuber, and are the statements that bad? And but there's also all this other behavior. And so if there's room for empathy, there's room to say, okay, well, some of these statements are really bad and seem defamatory per se. Some of these aren't that bad, and we can get rid of those. And it you lose some of the battles, but you win the war with that strategy.
Yeah, and I think there's a good chance for empathy on the clout chaser argument too. Like, look, the only real interest this person has in attacking Toddy Westbrook is that by doing that, they have built a brand that they otherwise wouldn't have had. And that alone, that is money, it's motivation, and it's not an insubstantial amount of money. I don't know how much, what is it's without a crystal ball? Let's see what their social blade looks like. Yeah.
Because it would be interesting. That's an interesting argument because her videos are not, I mean, there's a lot about Tati, but there's a lot about other kind of reality television personalities as well. And so I think that theme of this would be very easy to show this is what they do. Tati has had some videos that suck, but what she does is review makeup, really. Where what Without a Crystal Ball does is review other people's behavior.
So she's pulling in 2 million views a month. Which is, I mean, that's not slouch money.
No.
You know, you're talking $6,000. Like doing rough calculations in my head here, without any sort of live income, just ad revenue income. You're talking $5,000 to $8,000 fluctuating in there on views per month alone. That's, you know, that's a job. And that's
a living.
Yeah, it's not a bad one, especially in Huron, Minnesota, or wherever she is. And I only know that because I live in Spicer, Minnesota, so I know exactly.
I don't know Minnesota well enough.
Notice how you've never heard of either of those towns?
Nope.
That's all you need to know. We're not in
I've been through Minnesota once, and the airport was really, really lovely.
Yeah, the MSP airport.
It's really nice.
It kind of sucks right now because they have the airport divided into the security line alone. This is the only part that sucks. The rest of the airport is nice. The security line is divided into you are a plebeian or you have pre-check. And so
who doesn't have pre-check?
Lots of people.
Do you not have pre-check? Do you not have pre-check?
I don't have pre-check, but I have TSA clear. So it's
so easy.
But see,
I know, you're like, but
I live hours away, so for me to go in with my wife and or kids to go do the pre-check interview,
that's very fair.
Is actually a burden. It's hard for us to
Yes.
get a 2-hour
Everybody.
drive out there and then an hour, 2-hour interview and then 2-hour drive home. That's harder. TSA clear. We just, fingerprints and $100 for the year and you're set. And we get through the line really quickly. But if you don't have one of those two things and you're in plebeian land, you
Yes.
will wait in that security line for 2 hours because they have just the 2 security checkpoints. And it's the dumbest system I've ever seen. They used to have 4. And then
2 seems like not enough.
Yeah, it definitely is not. But anyway, this is massive derailing.
It's okay. I see the law nerds are like, Emily, don't we have coffee and curse words tomorrow morning? Yes, we still do, you guys. It's okay. You can go to bed. It's very, very late.
Yes, and we'll be wrapping up before too terribly long. But yeah, the thing is making $6 to $8 grand a month on this gig is not bad. And I would, if I'm Tati's lawyers, that's the empathy argument I'm going to go with is they latched onto this person and they found it extremely profitable to lie consistently about my client, to stir up drama that didn't exist. And part of their argument that they're going to use is that Tati engaged in drama to promote her own brand.
Exactly.
Therefore, they can't deny that their engagement of drama isn't promoting their own brand. And they're only doing this for this purpose. And the worst part is they're creating lies about it to further their interests. And yeah, I think it leaves a lot to juries to go with. I really like what you said about the giving them choices and giving a jury agency, because when you're on a jury, you feel like you don't have much.
Yes, and I probably did upwards of 50 jury trials in my time as a district attorney, and getting to know juries. I mean, knowing law is one thing, but getting to know juries is a whole different part of law, and it's the part I think I did the best. Yes, I can do legal research, but that wasn't my strongest suit. And there were colleagues of mine that had an encyclopedic knowledge. I knew where to look the shit up that I needed for the case I was doing. But connecting with jurors and figuring out how they work as a group was something that I was very, very good at. And watching them build and figuring out who are going to be your leaders on a jury, who are going to be your peacekeepers, and making sure that all those personalities are going to fit together while you don't know who's coming up next and you only have so many you can get rid of, and then figuring out what you can give them given your evidence that you think you have.
Yeah.
Because in criminal law, that's always subject to change. No depositions going into court there. And them figuring out how they're going to parse through things and watching them do that time and time again, giving them some agency helps them really understand what they can do and what they can't do. And it lets them, if they want to feel like, okay, we can't get rid of this, but we don't want to just slam somebody with everything. Sometimes you see them just slam people with everything, but we don't want to slam somebody with everything. So what can go? Leaving some things in there that can go a very, very long way with a jury. So I think there's a lot of, law's a long game, right? So
Yeah,
there's
very.
a lot of long game starting in this complaint. And the thing that's fascinating about this is they've had 18 months to think about it while other defamatory statements were allegedly happening because they had those cease and desists. And a jury will be like, wait, there were 4 cease and desists? It's going to be very interesting how it plays out. And that goes both ways too. That goes towards, why didn't you stop it sooner and why did you let it go on? Or towards, see, she really thought what she was doing was right and stood her ground. A lot of the facts in this case cut both ways.
Yeah, and the 4 cease and desists, like, why didn't you stop it sooner? We tried. We sent 4 cease and desists. What we really didn't want to do was be a 9 million subscriber channel punching down on 130. But they just kept damaging our brand. They left us no choice. We had to do it.
If they play the video, you haven't seen the video where she's like, they're never going to sue me. They're never going to sue me.
No, I haven't seen anything ever produced by this person.
Which is good because you can look at the documents, but there's a video like, they're never going to sue me. They're just never going to sue me. And this is why they're never going to sue me. And it's because, and it goes on. And it's, when you watch it, you go, oh no, you did not just say that. And I think a jury would look at that and be like, that type of arrogance turns off a jury. And so whether they'll see, I don't know how that will play out for them. but it doesn't. It for me when I watch that, I'm like, I would have a hard time as the attorney explaining that behavior to a jury.
Yeah. I think the two things about this, the internet, the world of internet clashing with the world of court. One, you mentioned, well, I'll do it in reverse order. One, explaining any of this to a jury is, it's like distilling autism into a liquid and giving it to someone and saying, here, I need you to engage in what the internet does as fast as possible and to take this and just become hyper focused and obsessed on this subject that you've never heard of right now. We're gonna condense 18 months of statements and 40 videos. Like, just that allegation alone. She made 40 videos about me. Most people haven't had a single video made about them ever. And this one person had 40 videos made about them by one other person. That's weird, right? That's aberrant behavior. So that's one aspect of it. Two, you mentioned it's the long game. And this is a whole different collision with YouTube and my own experience playing into this. YouTube is not ready for this long game. They're not ready for how attenuated and drawn out this drama is going to be, because I mentioned 6 months as like this hypothetical, and it was my conservative just toss out.
6 months is so fast.
Right. There's almost no way at 6 months. The way at 6 months is this thing gets entirely dismissed and then no one appeals anything, which in defamation, once you've paid the lawyers, that's kind of a rare sort of occurrence. But this could be 2 years. It could be 3 years of time.
2 or 3 years.
And the drama community will likely have long moved on by the time that this is resolved. And that's the weird sort of strategic element of YouTube lawsuits, I think, is that you have a specific and limited window of time to capitalize in whatever way you're going to on the fruit of the drama. And I'm talking about from KJ and Toddy's perspective here, however they want to do it, to capitalize on the fruit of the drama and make that alternate victory I was talking about earlier.
Yep.
You have maybe 3 months to really do it.
The court of public opinion is kind of getting done with this and ready to move on. And we saw stuff coming up on Twitter today with Jeffree Star and potential payoffs to alleged victims. And there's a next beauty drama thing coming, and there's going to continue to be. I think we are getting towards, there will be some motions in court and people will be curious about them. But after this next round of motions comes up, I think it's going to be okay, now we're into the law in motion before trial, and everyone is going to move on to something else, which is the way that plays out. But what's funny to me is because I keep getting asked about it, so I keep getting curious about it. And then there was poking the lawyers, and I saw the chat bringing it up. The lawyer on the defamation case is also on a class action case with all of YouTube's lawyers in a defense group, which was very interesting to me as I was pulling up, because he mentioned in his declaration for the motion to not delete your shit that he knew and represented a very well-known YouTuber, which was Ryan's Toy Review, when I Googled what he had put in.
The little kid?
The little kid. So they rep Ryan's Toy Review, and Ryan's Toy Review's company is co-defendants with YouTube and Google. And so when I was pulling up that case, I was like, and the lawyer that's being poked at on, in videos and on, because she talked about him on video and she talked about him on Twitter, he's in a defense group with the heads of litigation for YouTube and for Google. So there's a whole other know who you're up against. And this is a very, very well-connected litigator in the YouTube space. And that's a very interesting aspect of this.
What is that case about? Who's suing Ryan's Toy Review?
I haven't gotten to break it down yet. It is essentially a COPA violation suit that came down after the FTC ruling. So after the FTC fines, it is a mother of a 5-year-old joining a class action against YouTube, Google, Ryan's Toy Review, DreamWorks, it's a who's who of every lawyer that's ever worked in Los Angeles in the entertainment space. And so Hubbard is a very large, very important to YouTube case. And so this kind of, I hate to say bullshit, but this kind of bullshit's playing out in the background. And the lawyer that's getting poked at on the social media
Yeah.
is in this defense group with the YouTube lawyers. And then you see Keemstar going, YouTube has to know about this. And I'm like, actually, I really do think YouTube knows about this, because you've got a lawsuit going on between YouTubers, and then you've got people making videos about a lawsuit going on about YouTubers, and then you've got them saying, and now we're impugning somehow PewDiePie and all these other channels that have represents millions and millions and hundreds of millions, with no hyperbole, of subscribers.
Yeah.
And YouTube's like, are we going to end up with all of the YouTubers in depositions? What is happening?
God, that would be great. I will tell
It would be
you,
fun to watch.
I will tell you, without the Ryan's Toy review, sort of absent, without the Toddy stuff, YouTube knows when anything about
Yes.
YouTube is discussed.
Yes.
I covered the James Damore complaint against Google, and I had Google engineers sending me screenshots of the Google Plus internal chats, because they had Google Plus, which is like Facebook Messenger, and then they had internal Google Plus, and my bar card was up on there, and people were not happy because I made fun of someone and used ableist language.
Oh, well, don't do that.
I called someone an idiot. I learned that idiot is ableist. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Did you know that there is someone out there who works at Google, and they identify their gender identity as an ornate building?
I was unaware of that.
They do. There's also a wingless scaled dragon. I think it was gold in color. Someone who identifies as a wingless dragon, and those two give
that was an option.
They are options. How dare you, bigot? I'm kidding.
Apologies. The wingless.
You're from LA.
I am from LA.
Yeah.
But I was unaware. Though the California bar did have 10, I think, gender options when we redid our bar this last year, so you could change if you wanted to, and I still was unaware that there were 10. I can understand the decline to state or what have you, but our bar had definitely opened that up.
Yeah. Well, I was baffled by this, and these two individuals give presentations on, as you would expect, identity at Google, and I made jokes about that presentation, and oh boy, it was not a happy thing. This is a long tangent to say Google knows when Google's involved.
When you talk about Google,
yep,
I mean,
they do. They watch YouTube, shockingly, and they find things about YouTube and about Google on them as well.
They do, and YouTube does keep an eye on what's going on its platform and what people are talking about on the platform. And this right now, for the moment, is something people are talking about on the platform, because what does YouTube love to talk about if not things going on YouTube? It's its own little funny, insular little community. And so
right.
The beauty, I didn't realize how big the beauty community was. I was just like, look, this is fascinating. There's these two lawsuits and they're kind of connected, but kind of not connected. And it's kind of weird. And there's sassy footnotes. And this is a lawsuit about greed. Like, it's so fascinating. And then I was on payroll, and then I wasn't a real lawyer, and all the things happened. It was fascinating.
I cannot wait for you to get ethics complaints. God, that'll make me...
I'm sure it'll happen.
My recommendation, this is what I do. You can take this as you will, is to scan them immediately and do a live stream talking about your ethics complaints. Don't even read it. Just scan it in. And
live react.
And live react to your own ethics complaints. They're very fun to do. And then sometimes you even get a follow-up ethics complaint from the person complaining that you read their ethics complaint.
That you talked about the complaint. I mean, I've had to listen to jail recordings of people talk about me, so I can't imagine anything can be more personal than the person who is like, she's trying to put me in jail, and it's like, well, actually, it's prison, but okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Get it
so
right, scrub.
those calls were definitely interesting to monitor. You're like, it says it's recorded. Do you think we don't listen? I hear you. And then you have to go see them in court, and you're like, we get your calls, right? And they kind of look at you funny, and you're like, yeah, we listen to them. So just so you know.
Yeah.
Just so you know, please stop having phone sex with your girlfriend and your other girlfriend.
And also, I thought it would take you longer. No, I'm just kidding.
In the public rooms.
Right.
Boy, we've digressed. We've talked about all kinds of things.
I would love to talk criminal stuff with you sometime, but I think
I can tell all the DA stories, because all of the stories, well, I can tell the stories I can tell, and all the stories I can tell, I know what I can tell. So
right, yeah.
Fun.
Someday we'll have to do that. I like I do when I practice. It's usually just kind of small criminal defense in small town, and it's just fun messing with that stuff. So I like talking about it.
It's interesting to be able to say, look, I know how this is going to play out because I've done this many of this. This is where we're at. This is the judge. This is the prosecutor. This is how it goes. And then it goes that way, and you're like, see, it's like I know things.
The other thing is it's like, I know all of this sounds bad, but you're not that bad, and things are going to probably be okay. And we'll get this worked out. I know I have to tell you all of the bad things that can happen to you.
Yeah.
And that's probably not going to happen to you, even though they might. But for now, just breathe. I know this seems really bad because it's a felony, but it's probably not going to be a felony at the end of the day. And they really don't want to pay a bunch of money to put you in prison. They don't want to do that. And we're going to play with that. And as long as we don't piss them off too much, we can probably keep you out.
Being able to tell people, like, take a deep breath, it's going to be okay, is one of the nice things as an attorney, when it's like, no, we're going to be able to we're going to be able to work this out. We're going to be able to work it out. Just, if you ignore it, it gets worse. So we kind of go with that.
Yeah, that's actually one of the lines that clients respond so well with when you're on the phone with them, is like, for now, you've talked to me. Let me take that away from you, and you breathe and know that the ball is rolling.
Yep.
And now you don't need to have it lingering over your head. I know that's easy to say, but trust me, just breathe a little bit and you'll be okay.
I love that you say that. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you're paying me to do the worrying, so I need you to just do the things you're doing, and then maybe not do these two things, but you're paying me to worry and to figure this out. So let me figure it out, and I'll talk to you when we need to talk.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
All right, so here's the part where I'm going to read the super chats.
Yes, please.
We're going to get through all of them, and then we'll wrap up the show. If you have to go, let me know, but it shouldn't be too long. And feel free to jump in on any of these if you have any response.
Super chats.
John Cook says, autism as a substance is the hypervigilance and hyperfocus, particularly on the finer details of a subject and their unintuitive implications. Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting to, because that's what the internet really does, and does really well. It's also known in its clinical form as Provigil, and it's a fantastic drug. Off-brand is modafinil.
I've heard of it as modafinil.
I have narcolepsy, so I actually have a modafinil prescription, but I almost never take it because it makes me feel a little weird.
Dave Asprey loves modafinil and talks about it all the time.
Oh, it's... the reason I don't take it is because it's not addictive. It's non-narcotic. However, it's really damn addictive because your brain works in a way that I can't describe. Everything makes sense and all connections are made. It's like being high, except you're actually functional.
That's so interesting.
So it's a great thing, but I like it too much, so I don't use it very often. I don't need to anymore because I work from home. The Pie Baker says, Nick, I think you lost the title of King Grifter. Some Russian YouTuber locked his nude pregnant girlfriend out in sub-zero temperatures for a $1,000 super chat.
I read that story. She died of hypothermia, and he dragged her inside and kept streaming. It's some of the most extreme domestic violence I've ever seen. I hated that story. I hated that I read it. I hate everything about it. But yes, that is extreme grifter.
Yeah, he said, continued to stream hours after paramedics and police. How do you plan to retake your title? Yeah, I read about it briefly. I saw the screenshots of her lying there dead and like him dragging her. That was horrifying. I guess what I'll have to do is for a $10,000 super chat, I will fly to Russia and murder him. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. That's a joke. I don't know how you outgrift that. That's wild. And tragic. Mario Carter 13 says 2018, the election wasn't stolen. Stacey Abrams is such a sore loser. 2020, why is Brian Kemp so against looking into Georgia election fraud? 2022, Brian Kemp steals second term after revelation Stacey was right all along. Okay. Night of Hopex says, I mute the tab and come back 3 times now and you're still going. Are you trying to talk this poor woman to death? Yes. That's the other grift. Dread Clown says, if in the Supreme Court ruling they strike down the ruling of latches, what happens to the other cases dismissed on that criteria? They could ask for a motion to reconsider. They're running out of time in general. They're running out of time. So
very, very quickly.
I think if the Supreme Court is going to overcome any of the major things, they may drag in and consolidate cases and issue very broad and sweeping rulings. I don't know the name for the mechanism for that, but I think the Supreme Court will adequately create one if it doesn't exist, if that's what they plan to do. Bad Dragonite says, Emily, what is your favorite Pokemon and why is it Dragonite?
Dragonite is not my favorite Pokemon. Eevee, though I'm basic, Eevee is one of my favorite Pokemon because Eevee is so versatile.
Ooh,
I love Eevee.
There you go.
I love Eevee. Yep.
Michael sent a chat and it just says Pat. Okay.
Okay.
The Dark Lord X says, in your opinion, are Sidney Powell and Linwood grifters or are they just clowns? That might be a false choice fallacy. I think they are right about Brian Kemp at least. # stop the steal. I don't know if they're grifters or clowns. Like the problem is they've set themselves up with a high risk, high reward proposition where they will either look like idiots or they will look like the smartest lawyers to ever walk the planet. One of those two.
One of those two.
And it's going to weigh in favor of the first one, but they're also, I mean, they've set up mitigating arguments, and so they're following very well that if the system is corrupt, the system is corrupt through the judiciary, and even though they've put up a noble fight, there just was no overcoming the corruption. It's tough. I don't know. I try to avoid. I know Barnes is happy to call Linwood a grifter over the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. I don't know. I don't know them personally. What I do see are some problematic filings and some things that I feel like firms with their sizes and reputation should have overcome.
Yeah.
But we're in, at the same time, these are election lawsuits. They happen once every 4 years on the presidential side, and there isn't a lot of controlling opinion on them. So Michael says, as Kermit, I was told to type that. Emily, you're a little loud. Maybe move the mic back. No, that was my fault entirely. I apologize. I did adjust it later. Michael also says ASMR collaboration. Noir777 says, just 2 more days till Cyberpunk 2077 releases, so I'm going to ask the important questions. How are you going to customize your junk when you make your V? Are you familiar with Cyberpunk 2077? Do you play any video games?
I play some video games. I have not played and do not know Cyberpunk 2077. I've seen reference to it in a pop culture sense, but no.
Apparently, you can customize genitalia size on it.
Fantastic. I mean, as you should be able to. We're getting ready to just enter the Matrix anyway, so why not?
Yeah, I'm going to spend an entire stream doing that. V's Flat Desk Pepsi says, in Lemon's voice, Nick, you lost the case. Lost the election and the erection. Legal Eagle is the best lawyer, and PPP won. Jonathan, don't ask about the voices, please.
I love that your chat loves taking the piss. It's a lot of fun.
Jonathan Ferrier says, don't spam, but spam sandwiches are good. Cameron Jones says, want to explain the latent gay thing? It's an old internet meme. I don't know who started it, but anytime I'm late, people say I'm not only late but also late and gay. I don't know where it came from. It's just true. Rational Redneck says no idea what the lawsuit is about or who's involved. I'm just glad I'm getting a break from the election. Yeah, me too.
Fair. Same.
Holly Grace says I love it here. Subscribed. Hey, thank you. She also says Nick is the best and unbiased. Thank you, Nick. Well, I wouldn't say I'm unbiased, but on this issue, I don't have a particular opinion yet. But I don't believe in anyone being unbiased in anything. Stitch Witch says, it's like saying I stole a pen, they stole a TV, let me go, they're badder, but you still stole the pen. True.
I kind of feel like that's true.
Yeah. Heel versus Babyface says, I love you so much. Thanks, buddy. We need to do a stream together very soon. Kalinka Pavlova says, are the products any good, though? I must know that's not from those people. I think Halo, the Halo beauty products, are they any good? Do you have an official
I don't
review?
have an official position on whether the Halo products are good or not. I have not tried them, but I'm sure there are reviews both ways on the YouTubes.
Very lawyerly. Well, it depends.
Yeah, well, I haven't tried them, so I don't know. They're supplements. So if that's your thing, then maybe. If that's not your thing, then maybe not. But there's an eyeshadow palette, but you can't get that anymore. I liked the eyeshadow palette, but that's not Halo. That's part of the other lawsuit.
Oh, okay. Supplements, I'm torn on them because sometimes when I take supplements, I feel good, but I'm also doing stuff that makes me think I should take supplements. Like I'm in a workout regime, so then I might just be feeling good from that. Who knows? AlleyCat1236 says, I'm so glad I caught you. You're amazing. And WOACB, without a crystal ball, needs to learn not to rip badass lawyers. I think that one was for you.
It happened. There was a Twitter tantrum. It's all right.
I love them. Bad Dragonite says Yu-Gi-Oh, aka rules lawyering the card game.
I mean, it's basically what Yu-Gi-Oh's like. It's like, wait, what are the rules? And it's like, no, you need to go back through Rule A1, B6, 7D that allows you to do it under Rule 17C, D1. And you're like, what did you just say? My kids understand it. I do not.
Why? Why is this game? Mario Carter 13 says filings are so irrelevant. Rice gum should sue. Massico, why?
That's really funny.
See, I don't get that joke. What's? I've heard of rice gum. Who's this?
Rice Gum is a problematic YouTuber. Does he have music too? I don't know. But it's just like, he tends to pop up when stuff's going down. I think that's what that's referencing. Or at least that's the way I took it that made it funny. Like everything's so irrelevant, Rice Gum should just be in there and be like, you're impugning me.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I read it. That's how I heard that. Maybe that's just because it's 1:45 in the morning and that's not what you meant. But
no, that makes sense. That's definitely what they meant. It's adjudicated.
Which was funny.
Massico Y says, Emily, are your kids playing remote duels since most shops are closed, or do they play online, i.e. Dueling Book and Duel Links?
They've been doing some Duel Links. They're very sad that the shops are closed. My 8-year-old has a hard time doing Duel Links. He really enjoys the in-person gameplay. So
yeah, I couldn't do again, I haven't played a card game in 20 years or whatever, 25 years. Goodness. But I could not stand the online version of it. I mean, part of it is the whole idea of like buying your decks and getting these limited amounts of cards. I feel like if you can just go online, you put whatever card in your deck you want. There's no randomness and luck involved in that part.
Yeah, and you can be really interactive when you play at the table. And that's the part that my kids really enjoyed.
Angry Baneling says, Oi, don't start doom pilling with Emily. Come on, man. Sorry. I cannot stop doom pilling on election lawsuits.
Doom pilling.
Oh, it's when I explain that the election lawsuits are not going the way that many people would want them to go. And I talk about how, the results are probably not going to change and stuff like that. You
can't invalidate all the votes. Even if there was some far chance that maybe should be the thing, that's still not going to happen.
Yeah, it's so, the chances are so remote.
Yes.
Rational Redneck says, we have more evidence for voter fraud than we did for Bill Cosby's conviction. Either eyewitness testimony is evidence or it isn't. And again, I think at this point, and especially at the lower court level, almost all of the decisions boil down to whatever legal theory they choose. I can't be the guy to overturn 5 million votes. I'm just not going to do it.
Not doing it. Not going to do it.
Yeah. Kiyotami Chiutanichi says, I was saving this for Pokago, but infiltrated the Discord. Mainly lurking, but I'm loving the setup, Nick. Jilly Girl. Oh, hey, what's up, Jilly Girl? Welcome. Kristen Skierman says, all together now, Iraq. Yes, I referenced that one earlier. Thank you. Where the hell did we go? Angry Baneling says, Emily, did you know that StarCraft is greater than Warhammer? Facts.
I did not know that StarCraft was greater than Warhammer. I'm sorry.
It isn't. You knew correctly. Phoenix Lord Asserman says, it's a trap. Serve Ennead. Break the foul chaos gods. Join the space elf ninja wizards. Indigo Bloop says, if you aren't aware, y'all need to look into this precedental H3H3 copyright case. It was between H3H3 and the Fine Bros. Yes, I've actually read through that case. It is very interesting. H3H3 ended up winning, which is was a good thing. It's just too bad that everything afterwards that I've seen from H3H3 makes me not care for them. Designation 5 says, Shilsum's Dragon's Treasure tea, you nerd. I did. dragonstreasure.com. Go buy it.
You did.
Kalinka Pavlova says, we'll catch up to the rest of the stream later. If Emily understands the quote, seamlessness, I will sub to her. Later, peeps.
I'm sorry, I don't.
I have no idea what that means.
No idea, but thanks.
You should sub to her anyway. By the way, her link is in the description, y'all. Go sub to Emily's channel.
We hit like 65,000 subs tonight. It was crazy. It's been very exciting. It's been
very
fun.
Cool.
I mean, I love YouTube, so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
That is awesome. Congratulations. Have you been growing like dramatically from this lawsuit, or were you like, has the trajectory changed or whatever?
The trajectory has absolutely changed. The channel was growing slow and steady when I was doing with my podcast. So the podcast has been really the last year. It was growing slow and steady. And then when I covered the first Without a Crystal Ball lawsuit, it kind of popped off from there and then was growing by orders of magnitude. And so we went from, at the end of October, we were around 4,000 subscribers.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So
quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, quite a lot. You're like, pull up the Social Blade. Go ahead and pull up the Social Blade. Somebody else's take on it. It's grown quite a lot.
So you're talking, you have gained 61,000 subscribers in a matter of a month and a half?
Yes.
Wow, that is awesome. Congratulations.
It's grown very quick. The podcast had been kind of driving the ship on people finding me over on YouTube because of the podcast, and it flipped very much. I really think because the beauty community is so curious about what was going on, and then went back and saw all of the other content, because there's all other content. So
yeah,
once I talked about that Toddy business partner suit, that really did start to grow. And then I've been doing live streams for quite a while, and people really enjoy the live streams, and I enjoy live streaming quite a lot. So that's just been a lot of fun. And I love that people that have come to the channel, the law nerds, are like, I love talking about this case, but they're also like, can we talk about this and this and this? And so they will go with me all over the map of all of the different topics where we're breaking down the law. And that's been really, really a lot of fun. It's a wonderful, wonderful community.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You froze up, but you're back. Okay, good. That worried me. Because I had a similar thing with a case back last year where it's like, oh, I just passed 20,000 subs, and then bam, it's like 70,000 subs. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And then it's back to like the slow and steady growth, and it's
fine too.
No, yeah, that's how it goes. But our job is to take those interested people and convert them into being interested in law generally.
Absolutely.
DJD show, well, and dick jokes. DJD shows.
I mean, there's always going to be dick jokes. We've talked about the Ringo already.
Yes. I want to get one now. I'll wear it on my ear on stream or whatever. DJD show. Says, welcome to Paralegal Status, buddy. Thank you for joining the channel, even though you're already kind of a member. Courtney says, more context to character. KJ also claimed that Sophie Long was a brat and suggested she had lied about her claim of sexual assault and was acting. A strong claim. A strong claim.
Touch that one.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
I'm interested to see how the Sophie case works out, mainly because when I see a little girl, look, I've dealt with victims of abuse, and I have a hard time believing that a child acts like that as a non-victim. So what I want to see is justice for that girl, whatever happens. I don't know what parent it is. I have my thoughts right now on who it maybe should be, but we don't know that story. I hope that little girl gets.
Those cases get so much harder when you're a parent, which is something I wasn't prepared for as a DA, because I was a DA before I was a parent, and I was a DA after I was a parent, and nothing prepares you for the shift in how you view cases, particularly cases that deal with people's kids. Nothing can prepare you for that shift, and you can see it when you talk about it. It's like, but I've got kids. It's very, very, very hard to talk about cases involving kids, and it was hard for me.
I used to do a themed live stream from time to time, and it was how to catch and convict a predator. And we would go through the documents of someone convicted of soliciting minors or whatever it may be. And like when you read those, the verified affidavits of the sting person who had the conversation online with someone, and you're like, oh, thank God that I killed my soul years ago, because otherwise I wouldn't just drink to drunkenness. I would drink myself into a grave. They're awful. They're the worst things. And yeah, having kids. I used to watch like the worst movies ever and not bat an eye. And now, like, when a kid is disappointed in a movie, I'm like, this is a travesty. Like, I can watch people get chopped up by a helicopter blade, but a kid like loses a ball and I'm angry. I hate it.
Absolutely. It's a very interesting, it's a very, very interesting shift.
Yeah.
So I was talking about a little bit about the Naya Rivera wrongful death suit, and I won't talk about it much here, but just talking about what a wrongful death suit like that encompasses and what have you, it was very, very difficult to talk about on stream.
I didn't know there was a suit about that. I remember just reading the story, and all I can think of the whole time is trying to have a 4-year-old watch their mom not be able to make it back onto the boat after they got them on the boat. And like that, it killed, like it was just killed me. I didn't even look into it past that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, there's a wrongful death suit on her behalf from her last moments, and then on her son's behalf, and then regarding safety stuff with the boat. But it's very, because there are people who are like, look, there is some also personal responsibility. There were talks reports done, things like that. I'm like, I get it, and I'm trying to be fair, but also this is what this child experienced, and so I'm hoping that this case brings awareness, even if she or her estate does not win this case, that there's danger here. So
yeah,
but it's hard to talk about because that's like your parents' worst fear. So it's hard to talk about it with being dispassionate when it's such a sad case.
Off topic, camera Glee. There are so many issues from Glee. You've got Corey Monteith with the addiction and substance abuse problems, dying. You've got whoever played Puck. I can't remember that guy's name. And see, when speaking of bias, when I first heard that story, I was like, oh, what? Some 16-year-old girls like sent him nudes or whatever, and he's getting charged. And then I like started reading, and I was like, oh God, no, this is way worse. And then the Naya Rivera stuff, and then I'm sure there's other stuff out there. Oh, the one thing is like just the overwhelming power of that show to drive stuff that old properties into top 100 records again,
which was very, very interesting. But it did over and over. So
Okay, sorry, I'm getting distracted.
okay.
Local enterprise broadcasting. Is not sure if you're real attorneys. You seem like you have souls. Brooke Hennon says, did you hear around midnight that Texas is suing all the contested states because their proceedings are unconstitutional? It was from Breitbart. They broke election laws because of COVID, etc. I did not hear around midnight that happened. I was on the show. I'll look into it.
So is Texas going to sue everybody else being like, fuck you all, you suck?
I
You follow the law?
I don't know, man. That would be funny. Like,
that would be amazing. Well, we're going to have to go to sleep, wake up, and see what happens.
That goes straight to the Supreme Court, right? Like a state suing every other...
Other states? I think it would have to.
That's got to be original jurisdiction. So, yeah.
Because it's between the states, and then it's between the states based on federal law, saying our votes are... I imagine the grounds would be our votes are counting less because all of you broke the law in your states.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be funny? So I would assume they'd be on Trump's side. Because that would be the argument.
I would assume, because why else would you sue if you weren't? We would just lie.
And Texas comes in with the battle axe. Very weird.
Texas also indicted the Netflix people over cuties. I mean, Texas is like, y'all are doing the wrong shit, and we're just taking it into our own hands.
Yeah. We don't have time for this. We're going to have a county with 35,000 people in it, and that county prosecutor is going to take Netflix to task. I'm like, yeah, get them. Get them.
Boys.
Actually don't want any censorship, but if you're going to censor something and do it, like, at least
I mean,
that.
I lean fairly, let people say what they say and let the natural consequences play out, and they normally do. So
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Vine the Cold One says, shill your other shit, Nick. Yes, my other channel, Ricada Media, you can subscribe to it for purely escapism content. There's very little legal discussion over there. We just talk about nerdy stuff. Almost 10,000 subscribers, so any help there would be great. You can also join me on Twitch. I will be on Twitch after this. We're going to play more Ranger Spencer on Skyrim. Yeah, I go to bed at like 6 a.m.
I'm ready to die.
my sleep schedule was assassinated in the night. So and I just passed 10,000 subscribers on Twitch. I will be doing I don't know if you'd find this funny. I'll be doing an e-girl Twitch stream in celebration where I'm going to spend 6 hours on Twitch with Tool and Christmas lights and a bunch of stuffed animals and probably a beanbag chair and some thigh-high socks. And I'm going to just sit on my phone and ignore the chat or make fun of them for 6 hours. Just like a professional Twitch streamer.
Professional Twitch streamer. I mean, there's been times I'm tempted because I want to be able to play Animal Crossing more. And there's a new version of Legend of Zelda out for the Switch. See, my brain has stopped. It's like, I'm like, I should Twitch stream because I really want to play video games. And then it's like video games at work. Mm-hmm.
Get yourself an Elgato capture card. What? You have one already? Oh, you're set. Definitely
do it too. So we'll see.
My kids all want to be on the internet, and I told them no.
Yeah,
because people don't like me, and so I don't want them to mess with them. But
totally fair.
I would fully encourage you to join Twitch and play video games because it's got it. Or Twitch has the watch parties where you can watch movies with people.
It seems really cool, and that seems like the reacting to movies and TV shows and stuff seems like it'd be really fun.
It's the most fun thing on the internet.
My channel talked me into starting an ASMR channel, so I've got that going too, and it's desperate for more content. So I did.
You have an ASMR channel, so you're like, what do you talk about?
I read the Constitution, and I'm doing ASMR readings of historical documents. People find it very helpful.
The federal executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States.
Yes.
Yep. I love it. Oh my gosh.
We're doing the Bill of Rights. We're going to do the Federalist Papers. I think I read all of them. We're going to do the Reynolds pamphlet because people loved it in Hamilton but haven't read the whole thing. So we're doing historical legal documents in ASMR voice.
Dry read ASMR Hamilton songs, like without the melody at all. Just say them. Just be like, you don't have the votes. You don't have the votes. You're gonna need congressional approval, and you don't have the votes.
Yeah, well, the thing I like about the historical documents is it very clearly gets around any copyright issues at all. So,
Yeah, that's true. You
narration
should
of historical docs is fun.
you should consider maybe doing ASMR of sovereign citizen protests.
I would I would do that. We had enough sovereign citizens in criminal court. I can't even.
I'm an Article 4 free inhabitant. Am I being detained? Sir, I was not driving. I was traveling in my land boat. Please don't tase me, bro. Sorry.
I had a citizen who stole a house. It was a very interesting case. They stole a house. It was fascinating. It was a really nice house. But they drew up their own check on paper and sent it to the realtor, and they did a quitclaim deed to themselves and had all the locks changed and just refused to leave. It was fascinating.
It's my house.
And people were like, "We staged the house to sell." It was a really nice house in Santa Monica. They're like, "We staged the house to sell." It was ready. This guy came in to sell the house, and then all of a sudden they quitclaim deeded it to himself and like changed the locks, and then it messed with title, and then they had to do the whole. It took forever. But anyway,
Yeah.
we need to finish all the things. If we start talking about sovereign citizens, we're going to be here another 3 hours, and I have to stream again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Oh God, we'll get you out of here. We'll have to talk that sometime in general.
Oh, that sounds like a big brain topic with
Yep.
all the people from citizens.
Shadows King 101 says Eevee is versatile in all the different ways. It can suck at battle and die without doing anything.
I thought that was going a different direction.
Me too. As Cybertaz says, Katie Joy is Leafy's mom. He should sue her for passing on her lack of chin. Aw. Michael Strelitz says, listen to Angry Baneling and hit like. Yes, hit like, guys. Get me to 1,000 likes and I'll do a shot on stream for you. Ron Crossman says, who is Emily's favorite Primarch and why is it Sanguinius?
I don't understand the reference. I'm sorry.
Just take it. It's
Sure.
Warhammer. Yes. Okay. Sanguinius is a good one. Michael Strelitz says, woke is grand and the SJW world rules. Thank you for keeping us on the toes and destroying everything. You're welcome. Childo says, personally, I prefer Duel Links. As an old player, I find it easier than the mess that is the regular game's meta and rules. 200 Watt Studio says in Moiny voice, Nick, post non-binary sex who cleans up the gender fluid. I don't know who does. Pixlexia says your nose is an entire e-girl. Thank you, Pixlexia.
There you go.
Super Iron Bob says Emily is now the best human alive. Sorry, Nick. Look, I agree.
Thank you. Oh, I mean, I don't know about that, but thanks. We try to be at least entertaining and mildly educational.
Constitutional ASMR is killing me right now. Rational Redneck says, what is a sovereign citizen? They're a bundle of joy. A bundle of joy.
Enjoy your Google rabbit hole.
Yeah, just go YouTube sovereign citizens. Oh, I'll tell you who they are. There's someone without a driver's side window. I've described every sovereign citizen who has ever encountered a police. There's someone without a driver's side window because it has been destroyed. Heinrich Berndowski says you should do ASMR of the CBT article. Bob Jones says Trump did declare an election emergency before the election. If the lawsuits fail, couldn't he just throw it into the state house delegation? No doom. Well, I can't no doom that. Let me very briefly doom that. If a president were to use executive authority to ensure his own reelection, I don't care who it is. I'm not comfortable with that ever.
No, never.
That is something we just don't want. Okay. And the last one from Anthony James for Emily, futas, balls or no balls. Sorry, I'm not sorry.
What?
Oh God.
It's 2 a.m.
So you're not familiar
I don't even know what you mean.
with futanari.
No.
Okay, so imagine, if you will, a woman, an anime woman, but she has a massive male part.
Okay.
That is the best description I can give you of a futa. So would you prefer Would you prefer your futa consumption to have balls or no balls? Is the question.
I feel like there's no win to this.
Oh, there's a win.
I feel like you have to go with balls. Sorry, y'all.
Thank you. Yes, of course you do.
I mean, it would seem weird otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. You passed the test. I don't know if the chat agrees, but you're correct.
All right.
Phoenix Lord, I lied. There's two more. Phoenix Lord Osterman says sovereign citizen big brain panel when. I don't know. I'll see if I can arrange it. Michael Strelitz says, did you learn the Dalek voice? Exterminate.
Exterminate. That's not exterminate. It's exterminate.
I don't watch Doctor Who, so I
have TARDISes. I love Doctor Who. I'm that kind of nerd.
No,
Sorry,
that's
guys. I don't know about the anime balls no balls thing, but I love me some Doctor Who.
Yeah. No, you do know. You picked the right one. So, all right. Well,
the stream disagrees.
Don't listen to them. They're not positive either. Okay. So we have come to the end. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you.
It's so much fun. Thank you.
We
covered a lot of ground, y'all.
We did. We went from Toddy Westbrook to Futanari balls. Guys, hit the description and check out Emily's channel and subscribe to it. Her name is not Kelly. It is Emily. Make sure you subscribe and check out her stuff. I'll be following along the Tati Westbrook stuff as well. And we'll go. Guys are sending in chats. Tet says, Evie gang, rise up. Angry Baneling says, Emily, how could you side with the Balls Squad? How? And
boys, it just seems natural. Sorry.
Shadows King 101 says, Evie big gay. Rude. Oh, wait. I have to do a shot real quick because we just hit 1,000 likes on the stream. So
there was a night when we did Wired Wednesday that we did shots for super chats, but forgot to set a limit.
Yep.
That stream exists somewhere on the internet.
That happened to me. I hate Fireball whiskey. And I had a bottle, like a half bottle of Fireball, and I said, I will take a sip of Fireball for every super chat. And that bottle was gone in 20 minutes. Yep. It was bad.
Your people know you, and we're like, damn it.
This is not coffee whiskey. I'm out of that. This is Angel's Envy finished rye, but I will do the shot here.
Because you still have another stream. I have to go to bed.
Yes, I do. I wish I was going to bed after taking shots of liquor.
No, I will see everyone at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow for Coffee and Cursey Words, which is my Tuesday live stream.
And
that's going to be a little time for it.
And that's on your YouTube channel.
On my YouTube channel, I do regular streams Tuesdays and Fridays, and then the podcast has a video episode that comes out on Wednesdays. And then when shit goes down, we tend to talk about it depending on where we're at.
Yes,
go stream every night.
I stream every night, every weeknight. Yeah, it's a disaster, but it's fun. Guys, go check out her live stream tomorrow, 10 a.m. What time zone?
Central
time, 10 a.m. Go. The
11 a.m.
11 a.m. Central.
2 a.m. guys. I moved it to 11. I moved it to 11 a few weeks ago, and I keep forgetting because it's 2 a.m. and I'm normally not awake at this time. I go to bed at 11.
Oh, well, I am sorry to keep you up.
No,
all right.
it was a pleasure and it was a lot of fun. So I was loving the law nerds in the chat saying sometimes we have emergency meetings. Sometimes we do have emergency meetings with the law nerds when shit happens.
Oh God, Petite Fireball says, "Who are you to hate Fireball?" Lol. Look, Fireball whiskey isn't real whiskey. You can enjoy it all you want. I think it tastes like cinnamon treats and sadness. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging out. If you could hang out for 2 seconds, I'd like to say goodbye in private. We'll catch you guys later. Have a nice night. Peace.